Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 193rd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm Steve Wellings, and tonight I have with me Hater Dave. Tommy was on, he seems to have disappeared. Hopefully, we shall get him back. Paul David Webb is on the call. Smido, Kurt, hopefully, he's coming on at some point. Dave Lee, and the man who has my back behind the scenes, as usual, Mr. Andy Patterson. Right, ladies and gentlemen, the only place we can really start with. We had the post-fight pod last night, by the way, so if anybody wants to hear a raw and emotional Adam Smith exactly straight after the event, you'll be able to log on to that. It's on iTunes and up on YouTube as well. Many people jumped on the call last night, so thanks very much for listening. Gennady Golovkin recorded a fifth round knockout of Kell Brook at the O2 in London. And now that the dust has settled, I've had a little bit more time to think. I gave my opinions last night, but I'm going to give my thoughts very briefly, having watched it again on YouTube and sat back and had a listen to people commenting and different various people on YouTube and all that, and obviously on Twitter and that. And there's a variety of opinion as usual, because I was slightly critical of Golovkin's display myself last night. But I mean, my reasons are probably different from the rest, because I wouldn't say that I was let down or disappointed with what I saw, even though it might have came across that way last night. But I think the reason I was so underwhelmed by Triple G was because all week I've had casual friends texting and asking me in work about this guy. Who is this Triple G guy? Saying they really fancied Brook to pull it off, basically regurgitating Sky Sports stuff to me, Eddie Hearn quotes. And in return, I've been painting Triple G as this indestructible, unflappable force who calmly and patiently breaks down people, like he did with Lemieux. A performance, personally, that I didn't really mind at all. I know a few guys had issue with it. But rather than seeing that guy that I had portrayed, we saw a guy who dispensed with the jab. He was rushing in. He was looking a little bit ragged at times. He was throwing these wild missing haymakers and taking a few shots in return. Not shots either that he was taking against Willie Monroe. I thought Brook was backing him up at times. And Triple G frustrated me because he didn't do what I wanted him to do. He didn't box in a way that I had told people all week he would. He didn't conform to my expectations, and that was my problem with Triple G. So that's all I can say, really. I suppose boxing, it's one of these sports. It's about emotions, and we project our own emotions onto the fights and the fighters. So that's why I was a little bit annoyed with Golovkin. We shall see. Right, that's my two pence worth out the way. Dave Lee's on the call. I'm going to ask him to jump in. We have loads of Twitter questions, Facebook questions, Bellew of the Weeks, all these type of things. We're going to get through them in due course, and obviously go over to the Roman Gonzalez fight later. Sergio Mora, I believe Dave Loback was ringside for that one. And look ahead next week to Canelo against Liam Smith. Dave Lee, I'm not even going to lead you in with a question. Just tell us your thoughts, your general feelings about this fight. You bought the pay-per-view, didn't you? There's a question.
Of course.
Hardcore.
Hardcore, yeah. Sad, lonely man.
Was it worth it? Was it worth it?
Yeah, well, the undercard was mostly dross, but I enjoyed the fight, the Golovkin-Brook fight. I thought it was a very interesting bout. Brook certainly exceeded my expectations. He showed a lot of resolve. He really took it to Golovkin. But having said that, I think some people are getting a little bit carried away. I mean, I've seen too many silly comments floating about post-fight, talking about how Brook matched him for skill and that the weight was the deciding factor, which I think is absolute nonsense. Barry Hearn was, even today, I saw an interview with IFL, excuse me, where Barry Hearn was saying that if Brook's eye wasn't damaged, the later rounds would have been interesting, as if to say Brook's eye just magically damaged itself. And I remember Adam Smith in the commentary last night even comparing this to Hagler Hearns. So there was some nonsense being floated about. I think a better perspective is needed, while at the same time giving Brook the credit he unquestionably deserves. It was a mighty fine effort from Brook. But I don't think Golovkin was ever in any serious bother last night. I think the speed and fluidity of Brook's punches give Golovkin something to think about. And some of those punches did look to catch the attention of Triple G at times, particularly uppercuts. There was one uppercut, I think, in particular, I think it was the second round, which seemed to lift Golovkin off his feet almost. But there was no real serious effect on Golovkin's legs, so I don't think he was ever really seriously buzzed by any of those shots. Brook had his moments. At no point did I ever really believe the upset looked on. With regards to Golovkin's performance, as you kind of alluded to there, Steve, from a technical standpoint, I don't think it was one of his better outings. He was probably of the mindset that Brook was only a welterweight, and at middleweight he was no more than a pea shooter puncher, which probably accounted for his, cavalier gun-ho attitude in the fight. As you said, he neglected the jab and a lot of his boxing skills, which we know he has. But it was still disconcerting to see Golovkin getting tagged so cleanly and so often. And, even allowing for the lapses in concentration due to, probably a lack of respect for what he had in front of him. Golovkin, I don't know. He just looked a little bit off to me. I don't know what it was. I mean, I tweeted at the end of the fourth round that he looked to be slowing up a bit even. So, again, I wasn't worried for him because I think by that point he had administered too much punishment to Brook, and Brook was starting to give out the stress signals by that point. So I think the writing was on the wall that a stoppage was imminent. But I do think it is fair comment to say that Golovkin didn't look as imperious as he normally does. So it's possible that there may have been a bit of complacency in camp leading up to the fight, which is never really a good sign. But, ultimately, look, let's not lose the run of ourselves either. Golovkin did what was expected. He stopped Brook. You can't argue with that. So, that's just my thoughts on the fight.
I thought Triple G and Brook both looked pretty good. But then I kind of rated Brook a bit more as leading up to the fight. I don't think I was necessarily buying into the hype of like the weigh-ins. Well, Brook's obviously the bigger man, that sort of thing. I just think Brook has always been pretty good. He just hasn't had much opportunity to show it. And throughout history, we've seen good fighters move up in weight and successfully do well. I also think he was very tight at 147. And with my recent prediction against Frampton, and then his sudden show of strength when he moved up to a higher, more comfortable weight, I thought maybe we'll see the same with Brook. And I think maybe we did. Maybe 154 is more ideal for him, but he looked quite good to me. And I have to give him a lot of respect for his heart, guts, and chin that he showed. And offense, he was willing to stand in there and throw, even backed GGG off a few times. It was a good fight, which is nice to see Golovkin in one of those for a change. Just some competitiveness. I think the success of Brook as far as exposing Golovkin is overstated, having just watched the fight. I don't think he really hurt him. He got his respect, but he didn't hurt him. I don't think Golovkin was very tired, and I think he did box well enough. The straight shots, by the third round, he was landing pretty much at will. Early on, you saw him swinging wild with some left hooks that were just dumb. Maybe he was just really anxious to get that over with. But I thought he really clinically broke him down. And when I followed the fight on Twitter, because unfortunately I was at a wedding, I couldn't see it live. I was disgusted with the stoppage because I wanted to see if Brook wasn't going to win and do something spectacular, then I wanted to see the brutal GGG beatdown with knockdowns and blood and savagery. And Dominic Ingle, I felt, robbed everybody of that by pussing out and creating his own little British stoppage. However, watching it today, I can see the logic to it. Brook's out of the fight at this point. He's still throwing back a little bit, but there's nothing on those punches. Golovkin has no respect for what he's offering anymore. He's just coming forward, waving him in, and battering him along the ropes. Of course, Brook, it has come out that Brook had the broken orbital socket, so I can't be too hard on Ingle for that. Although Brook himself said he would have liked to be knocked out rather than having the towel thrown in. But the truth is, this is good management for him, because the image of him laying like sparked out like on the ground in front of Golovkin, it's a hard image to forget, I think, for fans. And now Brook has that over Khan. Khan has this image of him flat on the canvas. Brook does not. Brook has this sort of excuse, like, well, that Barry Hearn can take the narrative and run with. Well, look, what would have happened in the later rounds, So it was smart management on that. And as far as Brook not taking more punishment, it was also smart management in terms of imagery.
It's interesting that you said that about the Ingle, actually. Paul, David, now I know you were in the arena last night. One of our listeners, Ben Thorns, was talking last night. He was tweeting away. He couldn't quite see from how far back he was whether the stoppage was right or not. He seemed a little bit perturbed at the beginning before he knew exactly what was going on regarding Brook's injuries and all that type of stuff. How far away from the ring were you, Paul? What were your initial instincts whenever you saw what was going on from your vantage point, the towel being waved instead of being thrown into the ring at the referee? And what was your initial thoughts and instincts?
Well, I thought the stoppage was quite messy. I thought Ingle obviously hasn't had to do that too many times in his career, and I thought it wasn't exactly very clinical. If you're looking to stop a fight, you want it to stop immediately. Waving a towel about when the referee has his back to you. I know he was shouting, but the noise was deafening in the arena. There was no chance he would have heard him. It did seem a bit on the messy side. I'll be honest, the initial reaction from the crowd was very bad. It was a case of people looking around, going, what's going on? People were hurling lots of abuse. Obviously, when you're sat that far up, you can't be aware of injuries. You can't be aware of whatever problems. You could see that Brook was struggling, but as far as we could tell, he was throwing punches back. Obviously, he'd had success in the earlier rounds, and it seemed as though he had a good chance to carry on, but obviously when on reflection, it seems like quite a smart decision to take him out. I think that point Dave made about him not being out on his back was key. My frustrating thing was, as much as you don't want to see fighters get hurt. This isn't Roy Jones, Clinton Woods situation where Clinton's just going to take punishment and then he won't go down. So they had to pull him out because he'd just stand there all day and take punches. Brook could have been stopped. I think he was quite soon to being stopped. So I suppose if you're callous, you can make an argument that the fight could have gone on a little bit longer. But no, I thought Ingle did a poor job of it, and I think the crowd were certainly very, very frustrated. Their initial reaction was very strong, booing. The crowd was, as good as the crowd was last night, they did make a good atmosphere. There was a lot of actions in the crowd that I didn't really enjoy. I think the out and out abuse of Golovkin and his fans. There was a guy a couple of rows in front of me who had a Kazakhstan flag, obviously Kazakh singing along to the anthem, and he must have had about 8 or 9 beers or half-empty beers thrown at him and his girlfriend. People singing, "Fuck off Kazakh, fuck off Borat." There was an awful lot of that going on, which was a shame, but it's just the English way, isn't it? They boo national anthems, and people can be quite abusive when they want to be. I think the fight itself, I'll be honest, it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I think the fact that Golovkin didn't fight as good as he can made it such a good fight. If he'd have come out and sat behind the jab and just boxed away at Brook, the outcome would have been the same. But I don't think people would have come away thinking that they'd had a really good night, or thinking that the money they'd spent on pay-per-view wasn't worth it. I've seen very little criticism from people about the show because I think Golovkin, noticed that point, he was forgoing his jab and he was very left hook happy, and Brook was ducking and diving and he was slipping quite a lot of shots. But I said last week was to see Golovkin live. I wanted Brook to win. I really wanted him to do it, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. But to see him live and to see him from the angle that I was at, you get such an appreciation of how good he is. I know it's been said many times over, and I'll try to go on about it tonight, but his footwork and his ability to position his opponent is unlike any fighter I've ever seen, certainly in the flesh. There was no point in that fight when Brook had Golovkin anywhere where he wanted him. All of Brook's best work was done when Golovkin was forcing him on the back ropes, and he was having to try and duck and slide off and land a right hand. It was phenomenal to see. I'd imply, if he ever comes over again, I'll be there. If he's on TV, I'll be watching him. He is excitement, because any moment the fight could be over. But, he's not Pernell Whitaker. He's not Floyd Mayweather. He doesn't run away from his opponent. He doesn't box and move. He's there for a fight, and he knows that he can take the shots. He got hit a lot by Kell Brook last night, but I don't think there was any point where he was really hurt. Even that big uppercut, watching it back on the replay, his head was clear. He is phenomenal. I don't see anyone that beats him. That's not based just on yesterday. That's just based on who he is. There's no one at 160 that can touch him. And hopefully we get to see him in more worthwhile fights. And obviously Brook, hopefully we'll get to see him come back. 154 is the obvious move for me. There's a lot of good fights in that division that he could take. I'm not so sure what his desire will be. I think that injury will put him out for a good part of next year. But we shall see. But overall, was a good night.
High praise from Paul Webb there, who's seen Lennox Clark many times up close as well, so he's obviously a big fan of the G-Man. Kurt, Paul mentioned there about Brook obviously moving down, but also about Golovkin at 160, what type of challenges he's got. They all seem to come out the woodwork now. Chris Eubank Jr. says that they don't have tells in his camp, obviously they don't have many pens either by the sound of it. Billy Joe Saunders has come out as well. So Christoph sent in a question which I thought I could throw out to you before you give us your analysis on the fight. He said, can we have a breakdown of a potential Golovkin versus Saunders fight? Would that be something that would interest you at all, Kurt? How would you, Kurt, how would you see that one playing out?
Can you hear me all right, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I think after last night, I can see why all the middleweights are calling him out. Maybe this is a masterstroke by Team Golovkin. You know, don't look very good against the blown-up welterweight and get all these guys potentially in the ring with you. I wasn't impressed. I was like you when I listened back to the show yesterday. I wasn't impressed at all with Golovkin, and I think Saunders, who I still don't give much of a chance because, you know, the skills that he has, I can't really see trouble in Golovkin, you know, in terms of how he wins the fight. But at least it makes it more interesting seeing him in the ring last night. And in my opinion, having trouble with Brook. I think Golovkin's one of those fighters where there's two trains of thought. You've got the guys who are now saying he's exposed and he's basically shit and he's just a HBO hype job. And then you've got the other guys who say, you know, he's fantastic. He's the greatest middleweight of all time. I think you got to look somewhere in between. I think he's already got this built-in excuse. Whenever he gets hit or he takes a lot of shots, it doesn't matter. You know, he likes getting hit. He didn't like getting hit against Lemieux. He didn't want to get hit at all. He boxed safety first, and I criticised him for that. I think he got hit last night, not because he wanted to, because he didn't know how to cope with Brook's speed and the angles that he was giving the shots. He's never faced anyone as good as Brook. That's clear to me. I mean, the guys he's faced, which is not his fault at all, but the guys he's faced, they're either slow or they're plodders or they come forward. You know, the guys who he wants to fight the best fights, they just don't want to fight him. So, you know, you can't blame him at all. But Brook gave him just a lot to think about. Yes, in the end, you know, he couldn't hurt him. That's the biggest problem. But Brook's speed was giving him a lot of trouble. And although he couldn't hurt him, you know, he didn't want to get hit by them shots, in my opinion. He was just taking those shots because he had to, because he wanted to get close. He was just so over eager to get the knockout and so sloppy. They build him up as the Pam fan number one. He didn't look like that to me. I mean, I'm a fan of Golovkin, but I just thought if he went in there and boxed his usual way and used his talents, the knockout would have came easily. But he just seemed to go in there looking to steamroll Brook in the first round. And, you know, to be fair to him, he did hurt him and it looked like it was going to be over quick. But Cal showed a toughness that Golovkin, I don't think, believed he had. And, you know, a lot of other people, including me, didn't believe he had. So I think a lot of credit has to go to Brook for the way he fought. He stood up to the supposedly most feared man in boxing. He hit him with some good shots. He just didn't have the power. He's a blown up welterweight. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I think Golovkin, he gave himself a 3 out of 10. I think that tells you everything. You know, he didn't look like we know he can. I think he gave Brook no respect at all. And I think guys like Canelo, who I'd still make Golovkin the favourite, but I wouldn't write Canelo off in that fight because he's obviously a talented guy. He's a big guy at the weight as well. And I think that fight is a hell of a lot more interesting now. Saunders, he just doesn't have the power. That's the problem. He's a good boxer, but he hasn't got the power. Danny Jacobs, he's got, you know, big power at middleweight, but he hasn't got the chin. You know, he hasn't got the toughness, I don't believe, to stand up to what Brook stood up to for like 5 rounds. So there is some more interesting fights there, in my opinion. But I think Brook comes out a big winner in this fight, despite losing the fight.
Did anybody think that he went down in the 3rd round? The ref said it was no knockdown, but the feet weren't tangled up. Golovkin landed a nice left hook. I thought it was a knockdown.
Yeah, I thought that as well. like Brook wasn't hurt, but I think a punch put him over. I'd like to see it again, but as you said, they didn't look to be a slip and they didn't look to be a tanking of defeat. So it looked from what I saw that a punch put him over. So yeah, I mean that should count as a knockdown officially.
Andy, Kurt's laid out a few things there. Probably going to get pelters really for what he said. Going back to Lemieux once again, I know that you weren't particularly enamoured by that performance. Me, I'm just a sucker for the jab, the dissection. As strange as it sounds, I prefer Golovkin when he's more calm and calculated rather than last night was an exciting fight, but I don't know why. I just like it when he boxes behind that jab and he breaks people down to the body and he's not quite as unorthodox and as wild as he was. But like I said, that's just my opinion. There's quite a few people vehemently defending his performance. Just a bit of contrarian here. Probably get a bit of abuse for this. Is it a case that a lot of people are so angry because maybe their own bubble has been burst a little bit? Their man looks a little bit more beatable, a little bit less polished, less cool and collected? Or am I completely overthinking it?
I think there's some element to that, mate. You could say that. It's the same every time after a fight like this. So, I mean, if one person looks poor and that, you know, the whole saying is you're only good as your last fight. We saw it against Dominic Wade. They just allowed the guy to kind of tee off on him. Didn't show any head movement and stuff. And we do know that Golovkin's there to be hit. But we mentioned it last night, actually. You know, he would get a lot of hate if he came on the podcast. Seb, he's very heavily critical of Gennady Golovkin, and he's a big Kell Brook fan. So it'd be really good to get him on, actually, kind of give his take on it if he could get it across somehow.
Pod suicide. He was in his element last night, wasn't he?
It was a bit too much, but you know, it was like last night or the nights I'm actually missed the form, because that's where, you know, you just put him into the form and he just kind of talks to himself and that. So, but no, I know what you mean. But as I said last night, I wasn't too impressed with Golovkin. I mean, I can understand why he came out and boxed like against Lemieux. The reason why I can expect him to come out and blast him is because I don't rate him. I've said it before, and I expected him to do it again last night. I just didn't expect it to come out as wild last night. And I do know he did say at the HBO afterwards, as Kurt says, he gave himself a 3 out of 10. Did confirm he wasn't ill. But at the same time, I think I don't know if Kurt remembers this actually, but the HBO even says that, you know, the problems that he was getting, Golovkin last night, was simply because Brook was probably one of the better, or probably the best opponent he's faced. You know, and there is an element of truth to that last night. But just looking back to the fight today, I don't think there was really a punch really that actually hurt Golovkin. You know, okay, from the back of the arena, I've seen the head snap him back and that, you know, but if you look at it in slow motion, his eyes are, you know, his legs are solid, and he's always got his eyes on the opponent. So, you know, I don't think he really was phased or buzzed and stuff. So I do know that some people are kind of pissed off, you know, basically saying that it was pre-arranged stoppage. I don't know if some people want to buy into that. I don't know if it's a question we can open up to the panel.
Do you think that they're suggesting that they said anything after the 4th round, they would maybe pull him out and then Tommy would have to pay everybody?
Tommy's fucking well done now, eh? He needs to go into the fucking brew.
Well, I've got my money. I don't know about anybody else. I don't care about anyone else.
Okay, I mean, the eye went in the 2nd round. Okay, if you look at Brook in the 3rd round, he's basically shouting over his corner that he's basically pointing to his eye. In the 5th round, he's rubbing it and stuff. You heard Ingo, I think it was either after the 3rd or after the 4th round, he was basically getting all emotional and saying, "Look, listen, I'm keeping my eye on everything that's going on here." So, I just think, as Kurt rightly says, you know, his stock's probably enhanced last night, but at the same time, I know what Dave's saying, but if the eye's knackered, you know, it takes a special type of hard bastard to keep going. Guys like Margarito, I mean, look at the state he's in and stuff. So, you know, Brook, well paid last night. You know, people are going to be pissed off at this, but, you know, he got well paid and he came out of there somewhat with his career still intact, you know. So 154 is looming. Some good fights here possibly for him. Maybe fight Liam Smith after he gets beat off Canelo next week.
And it's like, we see every week on these matchroom cards, these same idiots that are booing Dominic Ingle, the same drunken idiots that Paul mentioned were probably throwing beer at the Kazakh guy. They're the same guys who cheer every week when Liam Smith beats up a 5'7" midget and the ref stops it, you know. They don't mind then. The fact that people are pissed is because it was a fun fight. This was a shit fight where Golovkin was just beating on a guy and Brook was just running and it offered nothing. No one would have a problem with it. But because Brook was was having his moments. You know, yeah, you rightly said he wasn't hurting Golovkin, but from his own standpoint, you got to say he must have been getting confidence that he was standing up to Golovkin's power. I mean, that surprised me. He was taking some flush shots, and he, you know, apart from the first round where he was visibly hurt, he took some big headshots, and he was firing back. And I think that seemed to frustrate Golovkin even more. He was getting even more ragged at times. But I think the fans, it was such a good fight, and even though I thought Golovkin was, for the most part, you know, breaking Brook down, the fans are pissed off because it was such a good fight, and it feels unsatisfactory to them. But I think from Ingle's point of view, it was the right thing to do. The guy's going up two weight classes against, you know, a big puncher, a guy who's just, you know, no one else wants to fight seemingly. His eye is just, he's busted. Obviously, I think Hearn said that it's, you know, it's broken. He's having an operation on Monday. What's the point? I mean, he can't win the fight, can he? Let's be honest. He was going to get stuck. He was getting broken down. It was a bit like, I think it would have turned into a bit like the Curtis Stevens fight, where the guy's just had the fight beaten out of him and he's just trying to survive as long as possible. And, you know, Curtis Stevens was another tough guy who took his lumps and in the end was just pulled out. And I think that Brook wouldn't have been like knocked out like Amir Khan, but he would have just been broken down until the referee just called a halt, or Dominic Ingle did. But what's the point in taking 2, 3, 4 more rounds of it when, you know, you just can't win? And I know, and like I think Dave said, you know, Brook reputation is enhanced. He can fight on, and, you know, he can say, you know, now they can use this angle that, you know, like he did in the post fight. I was getting through the first 6 rounds. That was the game plan. Then I was going to come on. You know, I still had more to offer. You know, and he can still say that. And it's a bit like Klitschko Lewis that we spoke about on one of the punches on the pass, where the guy who lost can still live on on what might have been or what would have been, you know, if he hadn't been injured. And that's the kind of thing, even though it's not, in my opinion, it's nothing like that. That's the angle they're going to go for. And Barry Hearn and Eddie Hearn are going to say, without the injury, you know, Brook's game plan would have been to come on in the later rounds when Golovkin would have been tired and all this nonsense. And people are buying into that. So from their standpoint, from Dominic Ingle's standpoint as well, it's, you know, it's the best thing to do. Brook's, you know, it's a bad injury, but it could have been a lot worse.
Just to put into perspective as well, you know, how horrible the injury is, that orbital bone. I mean, didn't Arthur Abraham suffer a similar injury against Robert Stieglitz in one of their fights? And that got stopped early.
Yeah, that was a bad one, mate. That was a
very bad one, but I think it was a similar type of injury. It wasn't like the orbital bone got fractured. I think that's what happened in Brook last night. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but, you know, I mean, we all know how tough Abraham is. I mean, we saw his jaw nearly hanging off against Edison Miranda, and he went 12 rounds, and he couldn't go on with that injury, you know, with the eye injury. So, I mean, you couldn't let Brook fight on against a guy like as dangerous as Gennady Golovkin, and, you know, he was hammering him, and the end was inevitable. You know, Brook was going to get laid out. So I think it's very unfair for anyone to complain about the stoppage last night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good point actually, Dave, because you're not only carrying on in a fight where you've got an injury to your eye and the potential that you might not be able to see again, you know, in the rest of your life, but you're going back in front of Golovkin and having him punching you in the eye. I mean, you know, it's just going to double the impact.
Absolutely, and at that point as well, Steve, Golovkin was just landing at will, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, Brook was backed up against the ropes. You know, he was riding some of the shots, but he was still getting caught. You know, the writing was on the wall for a knockout. So, you know, Connor's job is to protect our fighter, and we've seen too many brave cornermen over the years. So I don't complain about the stoppage one bit.
And Ingle, you know, has been with him since he was like 9 years old, and I just don't think all this conspiracy theory is prearranged. I just don't buy into that. You know, I've wondered myself, same with Amir Khan, did these guys going into these fights really believe they could win? I think, you know, Khan did, and, you know, he gave a good effort, and I think last night showed that Cal Brook seriously believed that he could win that fight, and he gave it all. And I think, from Cal Brook's point of view, he did the absolutely best he could possibly do. I don't think he could have done any more. I mean, I see it was a mismatch, and, you know, I criticised Golovkin for taking it. And Brook surprised me by how tough he was. You know, we saw it against Carson Jones, you know, when he had to dig deep, you know, he got through it. But that's a different level to someone like Golovkin. And, you know, he really showed his toughness. And, you know, a loss, it just shows that, you know, you can have an undefeated record, you can have 35-0, fight nobodies. What does it really do? But sometimes a loss like that, especially when you're the underdog and you gave absolutely everything, it just enhances your career more than 10 years fighting absolute garbage like for Brook has. Whoever's fault it's been. He has spent a large part of his prime years, just not mixing it with the best, and he showed against Porter and against Golovkin that he can mix it with the best. And when he goes to 154, that's my least favorite division, but there's a lot of the term slicksters in that division, and they're all big guys. They're not easy to beat, and they're all good boxers. So it's not going to be easy for him there to pick up like a title either. And they're not exactly big names apart from Canelo. So it's going to be a tough road ahead for him, and that's the choice he made when he moved up. Because once he moved up, I think his welterweight days were long gone.
I think it's absolutely.
Yeah, just to enhance their what Kurt was saying. I mean, Malignaggi even said it last night. He made a very good point that there's no stars in the light middleweight division, but what you have is a lot of good boxers, and I think it will be tough for Brook in that weight class. Med.
There are some good fights to be made. Hey to Dave Lowback, you were going to come in there. I'm going to ask you this question, actually, from Jamaica. What's your prediction for Kell Brook's next 3 opponents, if they are indeed at 154? Perfect what we've been talking about, really. Some good boxers, some difficult guys, maybe without the huge name recognition. Dave Lowback, who do you reckon?
Predictions are tough to make on this. Because you never know what decisions people are going to make, how deals can be arranged, all that bullshit, the political bullshit we don't like to talk about. But as for possibilities, 154 is absolute hell, I think, at the top level. Andrade, both Charlos really are going to be really tough for Brook. Even Austin Trout, I don't know if he wins that fight. Arslan Lara, that's a tough fight. There is Canelo, which honestly I would favor Brook in that fight because I don't think Canelo's that good. We saw Floyd school him. I think he's still that same limited guy who got schooled by Floyd. He might be maybe made a few improvements here and there. I'm still not sold on Canelo. So obviously he's going to want that fight. It could happen. Then there's also Liam Smith. There's apparently the Cold War between Hearn and Warren might prevent that. I'm tired of hearing about Cold Wars ruining boxing. Fights can get made if they work together, and we just need to hold them accountable and make them work together. Hearn and Warren have worked together in the past. Top Rank and Heyman have worked together in the past. The Cold Wars are not absolute, so I think he would like that Liam Smith fight quite a bit, and I think he could probably win that fight.
Anybody else? Any other comments regarding Brook dropping down?
Yeah, just jump.
Yeah.
Quickly, the problem is it's Hearn. I mean, Brook's in a welterweight division. The only fight they really wanted was Amir Khan. Why? Because it's a big pay-per-view seller. They knew Golovkin was going to be a big pay-per-view seller. That weird fight where it was going to capture the interest of Cal going with this monster from middleweight. You got guys like Danny Garcia, Thurman, Errol Spence, Tim Bradley. Guys that Hearn didn't want to really make because Brook would either have to go to America and the money's not going to be as much as it would be for a Khan or Golovkin fight, or he would say he can't sell a Tim Bradley or a Keith Thurman. He can only sell certain guys. Now he's gone up to the next division, which is even worse because if you take Canelo out, I mean, that's the fight Brook has to be chasing now, surely. Who else is he going to fight? I mean, can you imagine one of the Charlos? I don't know which one's which, but can you imagine one of them coming over here on a pay-per-view, or any of the other guys, any of these slicksters in 154? I just can't see Hearn wanting those type of fights, and Brook is the guy who wants to make money now. And if he's not willing to fight the Errol Spence's, unless he's paid a certain amount, how realistic are these fights happening when these guys are even lesser known and if not even harder to fight?
I noticed we have someone jump on the line. Brian King's on the line. Before I go to him, I'm going to have to bring in Smido because he's been waiting very patiently for the last 40 minutes. Smido, you were on the call with us last night. Let your feelings be known to everybody. Okay, yeah, I'm going to ask you a Twitter question, actually, I think, from the barman. Just how bad has boxing become? Brook is getting plaudits for having a go when surely that is the minimum. Isn't that a bit harsh on the barman?
I think it probably is a bit harsh, but in the climate that we live in, with the bullshit that's delivered week in, week out, and last week more than ever before, I'll be repeating a lot of what I said last night, but, last week I can accept a bit of hype. I can accept a bit of the car salesman from Eddie, and I can accept a bit of bias towards the Brits from Sky. I can't accept outright lies, and we had outright lies busted around last week by the said people. That was out of control. Kell Brook deserves massive credit. He's been offered the fight almost out of convenience or as a last resort because Mr. Eubank Senior didn't want it, and he just went out and put it on the line. I thought it was a cracking effort from Brook. Came out, did stuff to Golovkin that we haven't seen before, and from a Golovkin fan, which I am, and as I approached the fight with Golovkin goggles on and still do, you'd have to be slightly underwhelmed. I'm not going to say disappointed, but slightly underwhelmed by it because we've seen him. I thought he got shown up for speed from Brook. I know we was half expecting that anyway, but it was more significant than I expected. He got pushed back by a welterweight, and he got hit quite a few times by a welterweight as well. I'm not going to say he was rocked or hurt, but it's the most uncomfortable I've seen him when under fire. So if you're a Billy Joe Saunders or anyone between middleweight and light middleweight that's a prospective Golovkin opponent, I think you wake up this morning more confident of signing for the fight for a start and beating him than you did yesterday morning. I'm not saying he's going to get beat by Billy Joe or whatever next, but I think, it might be good for boxing. Kell Brook's performance last night might help boxing because it might make people like Canelo more likely to take the fight with the Kazakh machine. But I really enjoyed it, to be honest. Really enjoyed it. I noticed the eye damage was in the first round. I called it to the missus straight away when it was within the first minute or so. I've watched it the first round back today. Within the first minute and a half, Kell Brook's eye he looked uncomfortable. Obviously, he wasn't caught. And then, as Andy mentioned earlier, in the second or third round, he was pointing to it, looking at his corner, looked really uncomfortable and distressed. And as the reason, I think that might have made the fight better for the viewer because he knew he really had to go for it then. As mentioned, Ingle was making noises about protecting him quite early on, and he's obviously really gone for it. And Golovkin has done what Golovkin does, cut the ring off, put the pressure on. His main weapon was the left hook. I was disappointed in his right hand last night, Golovkin. I predicted that Brook would get busted up and downed by a straight right hand from Golovkin, but I don't think we saw it hardly at all, to be honest. It was all hooks to the body and head. And then he went and finished it with, the eye damage. I didn't have no problem with the stoppage, to be honest. It was only a matter of time before Brook was going to get really hurt. I do get the point about, Calm was flattened and Brook was still on his feet. I do kind of get that, but, we're saving a man that's got quite a big future ahead of him, and he's still technically a welterweight world champion. He's got quite a big future ahead of him, and obviously, as we've seen today, the injury was pretty serious. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I think Brook obviously goes to 154. I think he ain't going to welterweight to fight Errol Spence. It's medium reward, and it's a high risk and a tough sell. Plenty of options at 154, and I'd fancy him to beat Canelo. Where Golovkin goes, Billy Joe said today that he will fight Golovkin. He will sign it. In an IFL phone call today, he said he will sign it at the next, Golovkin's next available date. Do we believe that? Probably not, but we'll take it on face value. And then when Golovkin's got all 4 belts, hats off to him.
Thanks very much to Adam Smith there. Yeah, for the record, and if I said I thought the stoppage was fair enough. Right, Brian's on the line. Brian, welcome back. We still love you. First of all, via what medium did you watch the pay-per-view? Did you buy it at $16.95, available on Sky Box Office?
No, I was a proper casual. I turned up live to it.
Right, come on then. Let us know. What are your thoughts?
Fuck you, Adam Smith. I just watched it back not long ago because I wanted a different perspective of it, because I felt as if everybody that was in the arena was absolutely, when you read their tweets, they were kind of kicking off about it, and then when you were reading people that were watching on the telly, they were kind of more sympathetic with it. But I'm not one of these bloodthirsty guys where I'm not basically like Andy and that they're just into fucking no holds barred, and they just want to see people absolutely die in the ring, and they're just into these.
I'm not bad.
But for me, I'm not going to criticise Brook. I said last night I want to criticise him again because he took a fight that most people win about. Whether it was he took it because he was backed into a corner because Spence was on the horizon, it makes no difference. But the fight was a bit different when you're watching on the telly because live it looked as if Brook was far more competitive. And it was maybe Hamada for the coalition was sitting next to us, and he said earlier on, I think he was kind of swayed with the crowd as well, with the fact that they were kind of screaming at everything Brook said. But it looked far more competitive than it was when you're watching it back on the telly. And looking on the telly, Golovkin was fucking landing power punches at will constantly. And what I found was as much as Brook was kind of circling, he kept kind of circling outside the ring. As soon as he was getting tagged, he was going straight back into the fucking ropes, and that's when he was getting caught. And I don't know how he lasted. I don't know how he stayed up in that first round with that body shot, but it was I didn't notice it. He was tapping his eye, obviously, in the crowd. So I noticed that watching it on the telly. But for me, it's a shit stoppage because they weren't going to stop that fight if Brook was still competitive. As long as he was competitive, they were letting that fight go. So in my opinion, he wasn't stopping the fight through his health. Right, he wasn't saying, "Oh, I'm saving you for another day." No, what you were doing was, and I don't care. Nobody's going to change my opinion. They seen what was coming. They seen the stoppage was due because I didn't think Brook was that badly hurt. Watching it in the arena, I didn't think he was really that hurt. I thought maybe he took a punch and he was kind of he was backing off a bit. But I watched it earlier on. He was in a fucking bad way in that round, and they knew he was getting stopped in that round. They knew, and what they didn't want an Amir Khan kind of meme ending where he was going to get bombarded with abuse. They would have rather took the controversy of this fucking stoppage, so he got all the plaudits because it was semi-competitive. He done better than most people expected. I think the stoppage was fucking awful. As for Brook, I don't know whether Brook's better than I ever gave him credit for, or Golovkin had one of the maybe off nights and all that, but I don't know. I try to hype Golovkin up as much as I possibly can because I think he normally kind of takes people so seriously. When he went in with Lemieux, he respected his power, so he boxed. But this is the first time I've ever seen him get in there fucking absolutely no respect and just abandon every sort of game plan possible. He just wasn't throwing the jab. As Adam says, he wasn't throwing the right hand. He was constantly looking for a left hook all the time. And what I noticed was, maybe I'm wrong, but from where I stood was sitting, he swung a punch and his 2 feet were off the ground at the time and missed. And that's basically what Wilder done. He was just so off balance constantly. But is that the way it is? Like a guy fucking stops something in the 5th round with a broken orbital bone and he gets absolute pelters for it. Is that how high we regard this guy, that his bad performance is putting somebody in hospital? So, but I don't know. I particularly don't think the fucking stoppage was right. I know other people, everybody's saying that it was a right stoppage. I don't. I would rather just count your shield. This reminds me a bit like Froch Groves 1, where one person was fucking robbed what could have been an absolute belter of a victory, or another person was robbed a good comeback stoppage. We didn't get a conclusive ending. And what I don't fucking want is basically Eddie Hearn doing his usual. We know Brook hates fucking boxing and he wants to jack it in. I can't necessarily see him going to 154 because there's no it took him 10 years to fight one person at welterweight. There's no cunt in that fucking division he's going to get a good payday off of. So who's he going to fight? Is he going to take all these high-risk, low-reward fights? We know Brook's no interested in that. I'm trying not to slag him here, but I could really honestly see that bastard Eddie Hearn somehow trying to squeeze. If Golovkin doesn't try to force this mandatory with Jacobs and Saunders doesn't take the fight, you can see Hearn trying to fucking make this rematch.
Really?
Brook would take it because it would be money. The casuals would come out again. I would 100% not go to this, right? I wouldn't. I just wanted to go and see this guy live just to see what he was like. Because I meant to go last year to Monaco at the Martin Murray fight. I booked Vegas and it just so happened it was fucking Floyd Pacquiao, so it was costing too much money. So I just wanted to go. I'm basically the bigger problem that slag a fight, then I turn up for it. Shit happens. I seen Edwards getting fucking knocked the fuck out, so it was probably worth it. But that stoppage with that left hook.
Fuck.
You see, regarding the stoppage, the way you were saying there, it was on the post-fight pod last night. I think it was Ryan who raised the point. If it wasn't, forgive me, whoever said it. That I think Roy Jones had said to Kellerman that he thought by the fourth round, Brook was. I don't want to misquote him. I'm not saying looking out of there, but he was done. Like you said, he was sort of finished. He'd given up, and that's too strong a terms. But you know,
he done that in the second round. Like, he tapped his eye, and he was like holding his eye, and he turned to his corner and said something. Like, I don't know whether he shouted to his corner or not. So it was obviously in a bad distress. But
Hopkins was critical. Hopkins was critical of stoppage when it was live. I watched it on the HBO feed.
You know what? I've got issue with. Like, everybody knows I hate Margarito, right? I really fucking hate him, right? But he's got a right fucking fanboy element about him, right? And see the people that love Margarito, there's so many people defending this stoppage here, and the people that defending this stoppage are normally the ones that are going on about how Margarito would never quit. They wouldn't throw the towel in. Margarito would rather lose an eye and all that. You can't have it both ways. You can't have like you absolutely love Margarito for what he does, and then you're turning around and saying this is a good fucking stop. It's not a fucking good stoppage. If he was going to lose an eye, so fucking what? Lose the eye? You're a boxer. It's a fighting game. You don't know what it's like until you put on a pair of gloves. Well, fucking prove it to me. Prove it. This guy. Right, I'm not slagging Brook here, right? And he wasn't the one that stopped the fight. This guy has literally been stabbed on 2 separate occasions. He's basically come out of a nightclub and somebody's jumped out a car, stabbed fuck out his back, right? He's went to Tenerife, get full of whatever, and get done with a machete. This is nothing compared to what he's went through. So a broken orbital bone, right, and it didn't even look that bad. See if you look at Paulie Malignaggi's face was a fucking mess, and Cotto is a mega. Cotto at 140, 147 was a fucking heavy puncher, right?
He was a beast.
And he went to 12 fucking rounds, and Brook's face didn't swell that much. I don't necessarily think this was like as bad. I mean, look at Margarito's face at the end of this fight, come on. I mean, this is not. Brook's not getting any blame for this here because he was willing to go. I don't know if he was really badly hurt. Was his legs gone? See when he grabbed the ropes, was he off balance or was he really going?
No, the legs were gone, mate. Because when you look at the follow up, when Golovkin was pushing him, he didn't have the same movement. The legs were definitely heavy.
But this was always going to be the case. So at some point, he's in there with a big puncher. I don't know what way he came in. I'm assuming he was in there that night maybe about 175 to 180 pound, the amount of fucking weight he was putting on in the check weight. Then he was going to have to rehydrate a bit more and eat some more food. So he could have been like borderline fucking like heavy cruiserweight, right? So at some point he was going to slow down. He was going to take punishment. The body shots are going to affect him, even if he stayed up there. He was going to slow down eventually. But you can't just. This is like Howard Foster. You can't just like predetermine that something bad's going to happen, so you stop the fight so nothing happens. That's no fucking boxing. We don't pay for shit. Well, I know you don't pay for nothing, but I don't go to live fights to watch a referee or like that calling him in this time, like think something bad could happen, so we're just going to call it. See if that's the fucking case. We're going to get all sorts of fights are going to get fucking ended. Everyone, that was so Ian John Lewis last night, and I don't know what he was doing. Like it was like waving that towel like a fucking maniac. I seen that. See, as soon as he stood up, I seen that and I was screaming. I was like, hey, they're fucking quitting. And nobody caught on to this at first point because it was at the side of the ring just waving it, and until he threw in the ring, and every cunt went absolutely fucking ape shit. And then you've got people turning around saying the people that were booing this decision are casuals, and I was like, fuck you cunts. I was like, you're basically fucking throwing back the shit in my face. I was like, I'm booing it because it was bullshit.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's an irritating precedent. If you can, like, why don't they just throw in the towel in the first round of Luis Ortiz's next fight?
Dave, this is what I said earlier on. Like somebody said, should have, because I'm so pissed off at this. They're like, well, what did you want him to do? Throw it off in the second? I was like, look, if that happened in the second round it wasn't getting any better. That wasn't going to heal. It was like an orbital bone, a fractured orbital bone is only going to get worse when somebody punches you. So if you were interested in his health, you would have quit right there and then. Where are you expecting? Like Kell Brook's going to fight like Floyd Mayweather for the next 10 rounds here. Then look at Ricky Burns. Ricky Burns got his jaw broke in the second round, right? And he just kept getting fucking tagged. And every time he get punched in the jaw, you could see his face all like red, that, and he just couldn't cope. He was always having to fight with his fucking his fist up and all that. He just couldn't cope. So what were they expecting? Like for the second round, like, oh, you'll walk smart and you'll be able to get out of there at the points. No, it was going to get worse. So if you were interested in your fighter's health, you would have stopped it in the second round, and then you would have been like, let me get it. You know, in fact, you know what I would have accepted if they allowed Brook to go on to the end of the fucking round, and then they just quit in the corner. He says, I'm not letting you go for this round. That would have been more acceptable, because by the time
they made it to the end of the round.
What?
He wouldn't have made it to the end of that round.
Well, fucking counting your shield then, that's why you're a boxer.
Yeah.
Tommy Coyle goes out on his shield all the time. He loves getting fucking knocked out.
And what I would say about
that's why the fans are there. The fans want to see that brutality. We don't come just to see a little bit of punching and then well, let's end it before we get too hurt, guys. We don't want to be too rough. I mean, this is the business where you try to knock each other the fuck out, but let's be nice.
I think a mention on the Ingle fighters, I've mentioned it before. They don't hold when they're in trouble. Kell Brook didn't hold last night. Lee Wood didn't hold when he got done by Gavin McDonald. Richard Towers didn't hold when he got done by Lucas Brown. They do not react well when they get punched on the button. These Ingle fighters.
Do you think then that this will be a long-term thing? Do you think Brook will just think this morning and Dom did the right thing, or do you think he'll take it thick the way like Costas you and so many others have done and said, you know what, I'm jacking on out of here?
Well, that's a fair point.
Somebody else to try.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Why
go to fucking the Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year? I just think it.
Your mate.
You
seem quite upset, Brian. You seem quite upset.
I am mad because look, we all know what Golovkin's all about. He's just there. He's just there to fucking seek and destroy. And I went down there. I didn't get down there looking for fucking somebody to be put in a coffin, but I went down there looking to see an absolute fucking annihilation, and I watched it back, and it was a good fight. See, for like 5 rounds, it was good. It was like every time like Golovkin hit him, like Brook would like kind of throw back. It's not as if like he would just take it. He would throw back, and he hit Golovkin with some good punches. So it was a good fight. I just wanted to see a definitive ending. Nobody likes a fight that fucking with an ending like that, and as I say, if it went to the end of the round, they could have just said, "Look, I'm not putting you back out for that. Like you've took too much punishment. Your eye's going to be in some state. You're going to have to go to hospital." And then they do the interview after that and they explain it. It would have been fine. But like Ingo at the end was being a ball bag as well. The cunts were booing for a fucking reason because they didn't know what was happening. Nobody knew nothing about this injury until Kell Brook mentioned it.
He was encouraging him to boo. He made a mug of himself, yeah. Brendan Ingle.
Big baldy steroid bastard. But I am angry because I travelled down to London, a place that I hate, and I went down there just to. Man, I really wanted like this to be a blowout. I wanted like Kelly to come out there and Golovkin to absolutely annihilate him in 1 round, just so Hearn could have got a major backlash, and I could have sat all weekend fucking quite the thing, just sitting back watching everybody absolutely getting abuse. But in this way that. Nobody's a loser here. Like nobody's really getting any shit, and like, what sort of enjoyment do I get out of that?
Like, you're raging, basically. That's what the fucking main thing is here. You're fucking raging.
So you're raging because you can't hate on anyone.
But that is exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is.
Your team won 5-1 yesterday, you cunt. You're still fucking raging. Fucking hell.
I'm raging because I went down.
I should be the one who should be raging, no you.
I gave my season book away to go to this fucking fight, so I missed that game to go down and see this shit.
I think
mute yourself and take a deep breath here. Yeah, Dave, go ahead before bringing Alex.
Oh no, I was just going to say, as Brian was saying, the second, third, fourth round, it was a good fight, and Brook was thrown back. But I think the key is, even though the eye injury happened early on, by the 5th round, Brook wasn't thrown back, was he? And he was just getting caught at will. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, but still, like, even if they take, you know what he should have done then? Done what you are always slagging Cotto for. Take a fucking knee, do something. I wanted to see Brook go down or something. You need some sort of definitive ending. You can't just have that. Even if if Brook was in the corner getting absolutely punched to fuck, where it was like you know how like the Castillo Corrales where the guy's head was fucking rocked back. Brook wasn't, his head wasn't getting rocked back, no, and it looks as if he's in serious body. You need to jump in. The ref needs to jump in. There's no point was the ref giving a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, I said it. I tweeted at the time. I thought it was a surprising way to end it, but I can see from Dominic Ingles' point of view, I can see what he was doing. You know, but I actually thought at the moment happened. I mean, I thought the referee was going to do a Mickey Van and just ignore the towel, but I don't think he saw it initially, did he? Then Ingles threw it in.
I thought was going to happen. That's what I thought was going to happen as well. Right, listen, guys.
Have we discussed it? Have we discussed the scorecards as well? I mean, sorry, Steve. Have we discussed the scorecards? Because I'm led to believe that the judges had broken ahead. Believe it or not.
One judge had
ahead on one card, I think, and he was even on the other two. Isn't that right, Andy?
I believe so, mate. I've not got the actual cards.
Ahead on one.
I've not got the actual cards, but I believe he was drawn on two, and he was apparently ahead on one of them. I don't know what the score was though. But just, and alone, as I said last night, actually, I had it like I think I had it 3-1 Golovkin going in at the fifth. So I really don't know what fight they were. As I said, well, Brian was there. He says it was a totally different fight when you're up live. I mean, we go back to Burns against Gonzalez, for instance. I had Burns up a point on the night at ringside, and I came back to him and watched it. And I can see the reason why people had Gonzalez up, because if you're sitting there live, Burns was blocking a lot of those punches, which if you look at it back on the TV angle, it looked like the punches were landing.
Yeah, you always get a different perspective live. That's fair, but I honestly can't see what the judges were seeing. I mean, I only give Brook the second round. I don't see what other round you could possibly give him.
Andy, like you know how like Golovkin's got like a high guard, but like it was like Hamada that kind of pointed this out. More, he's got like a high guard, but what he does is he kind of dips his back a bit, and it's like he's really susceptible to uppercuts constantly, and like Brook caught him a couple of times, and I just think Brook's well rounded. I'm not saying he's not, but like see a proper middleweight, like there isn't really any, and I'm not like Canelo's fucking decent with an uppercut. I don't know. Like Golovkin,
he does open up the middle. I mean, if you look at his hands, like he's got a split guard, and in fact is, well, we've seen it in the recent fights. His head movement.
I didn't have one but a head movement.
His head movement wasn't really there. As I say as well, I did say going into the fight, if Golovkin took the jab off him, that fight was practically much done. Well, he didn't even use his own jab to try and even deflect for like Brook's own jab, so he just went, as I say, balls to the wall, swinging for the fences. I was just disappointed with his performance last night. As I said, I wasn't expecting him to kind of come out like that against Lemieux. I was expecting Lemieux to kind of be more kind of like on the front foot all the time, but rather he was kind of sitting back. Whereas last night he was just going absolutely fucking wild, crazy. I think me and Kirk mentioned it last night.
Yeah. Right, guys, I'm going to have to move on to the undercard soon. So, Alex, if you want to just jump in briefly with your thoughts of the main event before we get on to what went down on the undercard, and then move across to the Gonzalez fight.
I think I mostly covered it all last night, really. I think that, I think I made a point earlier that, I expected Kell Brook to come there for the payday, and obviously Golovkin to put up a fight and just bang him out. But it seemed like it was almost the other way around, that Kell Brook actually came to fight and win, and Golovkin turned up for the payday, and he just didn't really take Kell that seriously. I think he just came over and grossly underestimated him. And when he realised how much he underestimated him, and maybe I'm not trying to make it as an excuse because Kell did really well, and he certainly highlighted some of Golovkin's flaws, but there was definitely an element of Golovkin that just wanted to end it quickly, and the easiest way he thought to do that was to impose his size and really fucking swing for him. And it worked, it got the desired effect. So I think that maybe he certainly didn't give as much respect to Kel as he should have done, and he's shown that before where he doesn't respect opponents for their power or their ability, and he will take more punches, or not on purpose, but have less worry about taking the punches.
Thanks very much, Alex, and thanks for coming on last night as well. Fairly mixed action on the undercard, guys. Not the worst undercard in the world I've seen, either live or on the TV. And believe me, I've been to a lot of friggin' shit undercards. Lee Haskins got a win. Good win for Martin J. Ward, Callum Smith, Ball Smith, Casimero beat Edwards, Gavin McDonnell, don't really care about him, Kid Galahad, Conor Bairn, Craig Richards, all pretty much nondescript stuff. We're going to try and rifle through this. First of all, Dave Lee, I'm going to go for you on the Charlie Edwards fight. Question from Liam Wynn on the Facebook page. In a sport where too many fighters are afraid to lose their O, what aspects can Charlie Edwards take from his defeat to move him forward?
He would have learned. He would have got an invaluable lesson last night. I mean, okay, fair enough. It was largely man against boy, but that was to be expected, given the gap in experience. At the same time, I saw some close-ish scorecards on Twitter around the time of the stoppage or just before, which I didn't really see myself.
Close score?
Yeah. I think Ron Lewis, for instance, I think he had it even after 6-7 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. But I know, again, I didn't see that myself. I didn't know what they were watching, but that's what I was seeing on Twitter last night. But I thought Casimero was always well ahead. Edwards to me looked outgunned in there, but it was a huge step up in class for him, and it was a right stoppage at the end. He got caught by a belter of a shot. I think I saw Hearn motion into the corner to stop it as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. So it was a right stoppage, but he would have taken a lot from that. I mean, what's he had, like 10 fights, and he's fought fairly he's fought, I think it's fair to say, fairly facile opposition so far. So I mean, he had no right to believe that he could beat someone of Casimero's stature. But I mean, I think he'll learn a lot from last night. It'll be interesting to see where he goes on from here.
Kurt, Callum Smith won it. I think he defended his WBC silver super middleweight title against the mighty Norbert Nemasapati. 7th round retirement victory. Just give us your thoughts on Callum in general. Joshua Burnell's asked the question, actually, who wins Triple G versus Callum Smith?
Callum Smith is just someone I've got no interest in until I see him in with someone remotely, good. I mean, he's one of these guys that are getting incredibly overrated based on knocking out guys who are a lot smaller than him and not very good. His acid test will surely come soon, and then we'll find out all about him. But at the moment, he's just very overrated. He might be as good as they think, but I don't think so myself. I think he's fighting this opposition for a reason, and when he gets put in, he'll be found out. I think he's European level type fighter maybe, and I don't know, until he shows me different. Fair enough, I'll be happy to be proven wrong, but when I see him, I'm not all that impressed with him, to be honest.
Brian, there was fairly mixed opinions on the Lee Haskins-Stuart Hall fight. Some people thought it was brilliant, some people thought it was dead boring. I've seen Haskins in much worse fights than this myself. Was it a close fight in your eyes? Did it excite you? Did it get up at you off the chair?
Well, I can't even remember what round that I started watching it for, because I fucked off to speak to Matt Bowes and bought myself a chicken burger and chips. I think
Slippery slope.
No, but that's basically the first fucking bit of food I had that day. I was suffering from sleep deprivation, and I started getting the shakes for not having any, so I had to get something into me. But I watched it for the 7th round, and it was garbage. But it just kind of like, by the time I watched it, I asked people, and they're like, we've got. In fact, it might be an 8, because like, what have you got it? And they're like, they've got Haskins 6-2 up. But where I watched it, it just looked as if Haskins' gas tank went to shit. And Hall was just kind of bombing forward all the time, and and I says to the boys next to us, there's one there's one judge that's American, and that can go either way. You've either got the American judges that'll like boxers who'll score for Haskins being a bit elusive, or you'll have the ones that doesn't matter what they do. If you're the come forward guy, they're going to score it for that. So by the end of it, By the end of it, I thought maybe Hall would have got it, but to kind of come back to like kind of shoehorn in like the Golovkin fight and why I'm raging. I had money on the treble last night. I had like Casimero, I had Haskins, and I had Golovkin, right? So I won. I won like £520. So it's not as much as like I fucking won money, which I was happy because I'm gonna wait IB for the Mora. I'm still fucking raging over it. So like, I should have been happy with getting the money, but I wasn't. So like, it's not as if I'm just being a bit of sour grapes here. But the Haskins fight was a shite, but I quite enjoyed the Edwards fight. I've obviously only ever seen one of Casimero's fights, and I quite liked him. He was always fucking loading up, man. You could always see him looking for that punch. It was, but I've never been impressed with one fight. Edwards, he's just that. It kind of reminds me a bit like Luke Campbell a bit, where he's like this kind of fucking boxer with no punches, and the only way he's going to get somebody out of there is if it's like just loads of punches and a referee kind of jumps in. But he should have took the Selby fight. That's I don't know why you go for like not want to fight Selby for the British title, but jump to like a guy that's knocked out somebody like so highly rated that maybe they didn't want like kind of the Chocolatito to fight him. So I don't know why they fucking done this, but it's just another fucking L for MGM, isn't it? Like, they couldn't buy a win.
Okay.
Steve,
Yeah.
sorry, Steve. Who in their right mind was saying that the Haskins fight was brilliant?
Somebody on Twitter, I can't remember, was saying that they quite
I
enjoyed it.
think it might have been sarcasm. I heard it was like one of the most shit things that ever.
It was awful. It was awful. It was bloody awful.
I said it was solid. A
I've
decent
seen worse.
clash of styles, momentum changes.
I've seen
spectacular.
I've seen worse from Haskins because he's normally dire to watch. I mean, the only
Don
decent
Broadhurst.
fight.
Come on, Dave. Don Broadhurst.
Yeah. No, the only decent fight I ever saw him in was Stephen Jamoy. I mean, that was a cracker from a few years back. But all throughout his career, I've never, I wouldn't say rated him because he is effectively awkward, but he's never been a joy to watch, has he?
No, I wouldn't go that
Seems to have been
far.
around forever as well, hasn't he? I mean,
Yeah, 2003, I think, did he make his debut? They were saying on the commentary last night.
Haskins.
Well,
I remember back in the day, the atomic spider battering him as well. That's like from 10 or 11 years.
See with like Callum Smith,
that's like 10 years ago.
I seen like the full Callum Smith fight, and I've never been high on Callum Smith. I've been on record saying I just think he's like a tall, like spotty Scott Quigg. I feel as if he's like pretty basic, and when he goes like in with a boxer, I think he'll lose handedly like De Gale or Jack, and I wouldn't pick him. I would pick fucking Groves. I'd maybe pick Groves to stop him. I really would, but his last two performances haven't been good, and they've been against fucking bums. And what you find is the guys are kind of semi-competitive against him, and the only way that he ends up winning is because these guys aren't full-time trainers, and they've not got the gas tank to go the rounds, and they eventually just get wore down. They end up getting hot with that Joe Gallagher body punch, and that's how the fight finishes. He's not maybe, but he's fighting down to the level of his opponents, and he can't go up for his fights. But like, that's a couple of times now where like, he's been against absolute fucking shite, and he's looked shite himself. So, and he also looks shite, big spotty bastard. So. I don't know. I think he's a serious type job, and like everybody in that Gallagher camp, the shit. Roll on fucking Linares, come on.
I thought he looked bored last night. To be fair, though. And
if you had Paul Smith as a brother.
Well, here talking about Paul Smith, actually, we'll move this on a bit. Dave Lowback, Paul Smith, a knockout win over Daniel Reggie down once in the third round, twice in the fourth, once in the fifth. Light heavyweight Paul Smith is smashing his way through. World title shot for him soon, in your eyes? Justified?
I didn't watch the fight. I was on my way to a wedding, as I said. But all I know about the fight is the opponent's record, and I know that a casual tweeting under the hashtag of Golovkin Brook said, "Well done to Smiga. It's a good win." I think that's all that needs to be said about that shit.
Yeah, we always love an opportunity to let you unleash your standard English accent there, Dave, so thanks very much for bringing that on. Right, Andy, rocking on. Who else is left on this card? Oh, I'm not going to give you Gavin McDonald. That would be cruel, wouldn't it? Did you watch the Martin J. Ward fight?
I did watch bits of it, mate. I was kind of like mucking about the house at the time.
You
Quite
believe
excited.
in now?
I don't know. Maybe as I say, you don't lose your last fight, so we'll wait to see how he comes into his next fight. But if he keeps up what he was doing there last night, actually, then I could probably sit down and watch him a wee bit more.
Alex, I didn't get to see Conor Benn. I don't know whether he was on the broadcast or not, but he knocked out 0-1-1 Joe Ducker in the second round. There was a good Bellew of the week, actually. I'm going to try and bring it up now. Let's have a look. There was a discussion going on the 42.ie forums. That's it. Geraldine Lawler, we were trying to get her on the pod. I think she'd fit right in here. She says a fight between Eubank and Golovkin will never happen. Eubank Senior won't let it. They're all talk and no action. Give Conor Benn another 12 months, then maybe he can take Triple G out. Having that one, Alex?
Well, if Golovkin's going to keep up this trait of fighting guys at a lower weight than him, then why not? But, you know, it's. I mean, I didn't even watch the Conor Benn fight, so I don't really have anything to say about it. I mean, from every fight I've seen of his, he just looks like some fucking Zoomer who goes a bit mental. He's got a. Why has he got power? Because he's fighting absolute nobodies. You know, he's chinning no marks. So I've got literally no opinion about him. He just fucking whirls in like a fucking loon. I don't think he's learning anything in these fights, and that's what you want really to happen, isn't it? Really, in these initial fights of a fighter's career, you want him to learn things, and I don't think he is. But maybe he did last night.
Sorry, Alex, I just cut you off at the end there. Adam, final word to you. You're Eddie, sitting in your hotel room this morning. Would you be happy with what you put on the night before? Happy with the way it went? All the money that's going to be rolling in? What went good and what went bad for you if you're Edward Hearn?
Oh, well, you're not happy the way it went because, frankly, he's lost 3 world title fights, hasn't it? So no, well that's the fact. So you can't be happy the way it went. I think that obviously we'll never know the numbers. But I think the casuals probably bought into it quite well, to be honest. Golovkin's an easy sell, and Brook's reasonably well known. He's not a superstar, and still isn't. So yeah, he's delivered it all right. It sounded like the stadium was full with some of the guys on this podcast this evening in attendance. So you know, he's probably delivered, you know, just above average that we come to expect. That don't mean it's brilliant. We still shouldn't be paying pay-per-view. We still should have better fights than Callum Smith, Paul Smith, and Gavin McDonnell against idiots. We should still have a better main event because we shouldn't be seeing a welterweight take on a middleweight. But he's delivering just above the average that we've come to expect. And the things that we've come to expect is dire.
Harsh words from Adam Smith there. Dave Lowback. I'm going to end up forgetting this, so I'm going to bring you in now, very briefly. On Friday night, you went to the Sergio Mora Daniel Jacobs rematch, didn't you? I watched the fight, and I was thinking to myself, what exactly was the point in this? Mora kept on going to the floor numerous times.
Yeah,
it was terrible. I mean, did you enjoy yourself? Did you have a good time?
That main event was shit. The Easter fight was good.
Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed myself. Not because of the main event. I certainly didn't buy the tickets for the main event. What should have been the main event was the co-main, which was Robert Easter Jr. versus Richard Comey, a Ghanaian fighter. I've always been partial to the African fighters. They're always so.
Prison canteen, baby. Prison canteen.
Prison canteen veteran. I wanted to go up to him and ask him what it was like to fight in a prison canteen, but he was out of there. The atmosphere was fantastic. And as I think somebody was alluding to before, a fantastic atmosphere is sort of a mixed bag because oftentimes when you get people who are drunk and rowdy, you get assholes with them who boo good fighters. And Richard Comey got booed for just showing up, even though he put on a fantastic fight. Now, I didn't score it from ringside because it was just too much momentum changes and too much action to keep track of. But I think that Comey should have probably won that by a point or two. It was very close. Started off with some great. We timed that sort of overhand straight right perfectly over Easter Jr.'s jab, and that got his respect. It kept Easter Jr.'s hands at home for about the first 3 rounds. And then he started to tire. Easter Jr. came into the fight, started landing uppercuts. He worked great on the inside, had 3 really slick, smooth rounds. And then he started to tire and looked like Comey got a second win. And he came back, did a lot of punching, wasn't landing all of it very cleanly, but then landed a real peach of a right hand, which
that was beautiful.
It was great, and Easter took it really well too. It was a great shot, and he ate it really well. He wasn't really hurt, but he did go down. His glove touch, so it was called a knockdown. Managed to come back in that round though, and I thought should have made that round a 10-9 round. Because
did you see the one? Did you see the right hand that Easter landed on Comey that buckled the knees and he almost went down? He came right back up.
Well, that was what made it the most dramatic at all, because he really needed a big 12th round in that, and he got it. It was just he came out and smashed him with his huge right hand. So it was a really close, good, competitive fight. I want to see both guys again. Great to be in attendance. The crowd was good. I did expect in a close fight that Easter was going to get it, obviously, with the Heyman factor, the crowd being hugely behind him. In fact, the crowd was more there for Easter Jr. than anybody else in the arena. I mean, they got excited about Travis Kaufman. I guess he's from Reading, a big lump of a heavyweight. Actually, brother Nazim Richardson was in his corner, and he sat next to me for the remainder of the card. I actually almost made the mistake of offering to buy him a beer. He seemed a bit shy, so I didn't want to get in his face too much.
Get my bacon sandwich or something like that.
Say?
Get my bacon sandwich.
Well, he looks like he's had several sandwiches. No offense to the man. Anyway, yeah, it was a good show because of the co-main event, and I think actually surprisingly the arena was less full for the main event than it was for the co-main. People started leaving after the Easter's fight, but it was much more full at the Santander Arena in Reading than it was for the Jarrell Miller against what's his name, Abel Sanchez's guy who beat him up. Yeah, it was much more full than for that event, and I'm starting to think that this whole stereotype that the Brits and maybe some others have about American fans not showing up, not caring, I think maybe it's a myth, or maybe either it's a myth to begin with, or it's changing, because the crowd was great. There were tons of fans there who were rooting on Easter Jr. With a lot of passion. And also last night, in fact, we had a ton of fans at a UFC event for Stipe Miocic in Cleveland. Like the whole town showed up. There were thousands of people there. We've seen it with Terrence Crawford. Fans show up in droves. Maybe the Floyd Mayweather effect sort of started this, because obviously he didn't have a lot of fans who would show up for him. He had some, but people mostly showed up because he was a heel, and they paid in the hopes that he would lose. But you know, when you get these good solid fighters who are able to entertain a crowd, the fans will show.
Talking of fans, guys, the fans were certainly out in force last night in Inglewood Forum, California, for Man Gonzalez beating Carlos Cuadras. Some atmosphere there. It did look like somewhere you really wanted to be. An absolutely fantastic atmosphere. Huge respect to Gonzalez, moving up to 46-0, moved up to fight for the WBC Super Flyweight title against 35-0-1. I think he was Cuadras at the time. No Norbert Nemesis in sight here. He went straight for the man, even though Cuadras was tall and rangy and a really good confident fighter. Gonzalez stood up there and went toe-to-toe with him for much of the fight. He got cut over the right eye in round 6, cut under the eye in round 9, both on punches. And Cuadras was also cut in the corner of his eye from an accidental headbutt in round 8. Super fight, Andy. I'm just going to let you take this one away. I think you scored it 8-4 to Gonzalez. He just went to war, showed all of his skills, but showed that fighting heart and that ability at 29 years of age to fight the man. Those extra 3 pounds, and really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it was an excellent fight. Anybody's not seen this fight, you need to go and watch it. Same with Undercard fight, Kamagai against Karas. I mean, okay, it's no elite level, those two, but you know, guys in the same level on TPC. But once Karas got absolutely fucking assaulted there last night. I mean, just looking at the stats there just now, I think Kamagai landed something like 50% of his punches. I mean, if you're landing that, I think Karas needs to know what to sell. He needs to give it up. But Gonzalez, I mean, last night I thought it was an absolute excellent fight. I mean, Cuadras, this is the one thing I've listened to. Kellerman really got on my tits last night saying that Cuadras was, same with Leatherman, he was saying, oh, he's running away and stuff. No, he wasn't. It just the sheer pressure that Gonzalez was putting on him on the front foot and stuff was unbelievable. So he's got to go on the back foot, and he's got to counter, and he's got to try and punch. The one thing that he didn't do was actually out-throw Gonzalez. Gonzalez just kept him busy all night long, hooks, good jab. But, he wasn't getting it all his own way, because Cuadras was starting the rounds pretty well, but then Gonzalez was putting, just coming more into it as the round went on. First 4 or 5 rounds, he looked amazing, but then, you could see that maybe just Cuadras being the more bigger guy, he was, getting himself more into the fight. If you look at it on the eye test alone, you would think Gonzalez took an absolute hammer on there last night. Suddenly his face was all swollen up and badly cut and stuff. His nose was bleeding a wee bit, but then so was, I think, Cuadras got cut as well. High action, maintained over the 12 rounds. I did see Gonzalez get hurt though by a body shot, left hook to the body. Mm-hmm. I've seen it before. He backed off, but didn't panic. I did see a wee bit slight weariness off him actually coming out. I think it was about the 10th round. He's kind of like hanging up on the ropes and stuff. I'm saying to myself, this is a guy, he's maybe just bitten off a bit too much. But no, he showed his class. And I would probably say, a rematch would definitely be in order. I think the scorecards were slightly wide. I watched it back again today. I could potentially see a draw there. I think I had it 116, 112 last night. So I had it slightly closer this afternoon. But a rematch, I wouldn't mind seeing it whatsoever. But I want to see the Inoue fight Gonzalez next, because, as I say, it's Gonzalez. I don't think it's going to be around for much longer. Inoue, we don't know what's happening with his right hand just now. It seems to be it's going to be causing problems. So if it's going to hamper this fight, then it needs to happen next, and that way, we'll get a bona fide super flyweight #1 champion. So if Gonzalez pulls that off, that will be his third lineal world heavyweight world title, to add his minimum weight titles and that. So this guy really is rocketing towards the Hall of Fame in rapid style. As I say, didn't get it all his own way last night. He's fighting a really good fighter in Cuadras. Wee bit kind of sour grapes at the end. Cuadras refused to hand his belt over.
Oh, did he?
Obviously slightly pissed, but he did. But if you listen to his actually corner between rounds, like even down to the 10th and 11th, his corner was saying to him, "Oh, this is a close fight. You need to let your hands go more." And if you look at the punch stats, I think this punch stats were something like over 1,800 punches in the entire fight. Gonzalez threw something like 800 of those. More than that, I can't mind. But if you look at the punch stats, Gonzalez threw a shitload of punches compared to Cuadras. But then Cuadras, showed a bit of quality as well. He was 3-4 punch combinations, but some of the eye-catching punches he would throw were single shots, whereas Gonzalez, he was slipping them, he was bouncing them off his shoulder, he was parrying them and stuff. No everything that Cuadras was throwing was actually landing. So I didn't see why people are complaining about that Cuadras actually got robbed there last night. Good, close, competitive fight, and that's exactly what we wanted, and we got that there last night. And it's again, the wee guys delivering, the action-packed fights, and I want to see more of it.
Kurt, Andy mentioned Inoue there. Obviously, we had a question in from Boxbet Monster. He said, how do you see Chocolatito versus the Monster after he took some damage last night? Surely size is an issue. Just ask Kel.
Well, that's a fight that we all want to see. I mean, that'd be a great fight. I mean, just on this last night, I'm like Andy. I think Cuadras, he lost the fight without, it was a competitive fight, but he did lose it. I don't think you can make a case for him winning, but I think HBL were just too harsh on him in general. I think it's great to see a little guy like Gonzalez getting the exposure from a big network, the biggest boxing network in the world, because that division and those type of fighters, they've struggled to get that, But I think with HBL, they've got a big problem when they back a guy, they're just so biased. I mean, Lederman said he's running too much. He's not standing and fighting. Look at the punch stats. He threw 900 punches in 12 rounds, yet he's running. So, I mean, what are the likes of, Rigondeaux and Arizona Lara doing if this guy's running? But I just think, he was landing some great uppercuts to Gonzalez. Gonzalez took them all. I think the last 3 or 4 rounds, Gonzalez was looking pretty tired, and it was Cuadras who was really coming on, and he seemed to weather the storm and took what Gonzalez gave him, and he seemed to get confidence from that and was still coming on. And I think the move up again has showed that, these few pounds, might not seem a lot to us, but to them it showed. And he's gone up his 4th division now, and I think this is his limit, to be honest. And he's gonna risk getting beaten moving up again. But the guy seems to want. He wants to do all this, and he's a great fighter, obviously, and he's showing all his skills against bigger guys. And I just think both guys put it all on the line last night. Great fight. And I mean, yeah, HBO, great that they're showing these guys, and let's hopefully see more in an Inoue fight. I mean, I can't see it happening myself. That's the thing, but Gonzalez, he's clearly shown why people rate him so highly, and I just think HBO need to just call the fight. We've said about Sky. HBO need to call the fight as they see it instead of telling us what they want to see. And I think Cuadras gave his absolute all last night. And I think they were just too harsh on him, and they should have given him a bit more respect.
Yeah, they kind of kept saying he's a very good fighter, he's a world-class fighter, but as you say, they stick to the narrative, they fucking pick their favourites. Same with Kovalev and Golovkin and stuff, it's a house fighter. But as you say, I think they're slightly a bit disrespectful to Cuadras last night.
I think, Andy, you and Kurt have probably already answered this, but I mean, Paul Edwards had said, he praised Gonzalez for his performance, and he said, has Gonzalez really hit the ceiling now with the weight divisions? I think that it's a resounding yes.
Absolutely, I think so. But I'll tell you what, he's the type of guy who I would think, as I say, he's 31 now. That's like pensioner age at that weight. So I would think we're going to maybe see him for the next 2 years, and that'll be it. I think he'll maybe call it quits after that. 118 is going to be a huge ask. People say, it's only £3. That's shite, £3. Aye, okay, but you're fucking 6 feet, 5'10" or whatever. And that. This guy's 5'3". £3 is a fucking lot of weight for these guys. So as I say, he's even going up an extra £3 to bantamweight. It's going to be a big ask. I mean, can you imagine him fighting fucking Zolani Tete at 118? I mean, you can see there last night that Cuadras actually slightly towered above Gonzalez. Fucking Tete was like a skyscraper over the top of that guy. But but if he goes up to 118, I mean, obviously it's going to have to. If he goes up there, it's going to have to be for a big fight and a big fight only, for legacy or whatever it is. But as I say,
118 is a bad idea.
Yeah, I think so. But they were talking there last night that I think they were kind of pushing the agenda. HBO saying as he's probably the better, or Nicaragua, that he's far better than Alexis Arguello. I don't know. I mean, if you look at Arguello's, he fought some fucking legends around about featherweight, super featherweight, and up to lightweight as well. So I think we need to wait till his career's over to see where he kind of ranks in the ATG stats with like Arguello. I'm a big fan of Gonzalez. Sorry,
there'll be people listening to this that aren't necessarily interested or haven't watched the fight, but Andy, you single-handedly turned my attention to these little lads a couple of years ago, and Roman Gonzalez, I've been lucky enough to see him live. He is absolutely awesome. He is jumping. That's now, I think, 4 weights, world title, lineage in 2 or 3 of them. You'll tell me the facts. He's not going up a weight and taking a tune up. He's taking on probably the second best kid at Superfly straight away. Massive credit to Cuadras last night. The HBO bias would have you think that he was, like you say, running. He wasn't running. He was getting out of the way of the pressure, and he was returning fire with fire. And he was coming on pretty strong towards the end. I think that 115 is the highest that Gonzalez should go. I would be uncomfortable seeing him going above that. He was more marked up last night than I've seen him, but they just bring action in every fight. I mean, in that one fight, there's one guy that apparently was pound for pound number 1 that's departed. That is long gone in the memory. This is the guy we should be concentrating on. He'll fight anyone, he'll fight anywhere, and he brings almost guaranteed entertainment every time he fights. Stays in the pocket, his accuracy is brilliant, his footwork's brilliant. I think his power is going to start waning as he gets older and as he moves, as he's in this high weight class. But hats off to him, superb fight.
I thought that I'm a fan of Gonzalez. I like watching him. He's a very good fighter, but I think he looked more vulnerable. There were more worrying signs for him last night than there were for Golovkin, because I thought that was a very close fight. I thought he was stung several times, not hurt badly, but I thought Cuadras found him very hittable. I thought Gonzalez's defense was a little better than what I saw last night. Furthermore, he was very tight at the weight he left. So there's not much place for him to go down. He has to stay at this weight now. Maybe he could probably still make the weight, but
he was soft at the weigh-in, I thought, as well, Dave.
Yeah, it's just not a good sign, because if he's
124 going in the ring last night, 125?
125, yeah. And if he's at this weight now, like, it's trouble, because can you imagine a fight like that every fight for the rest of his career? I mean, we know it's not going to be that long, but still, one of those.
He did say that was his toughest fight since Estrada, so.
he could very easily have lost that fight, in my opinion. I think he won it because I thought he won the 12th round, and I think he needed to win the 12th round. I still have to score it. I just got it downloading right now. But we have tremendous fight. Credit to both guys. Although you do have to wonder about that back knee on Cuadras. I mean, is he on something? He took some massive shots and didn't budge. Although in the second round was where he was hurt really bad. I think Gonzalez got him real good to the body with a left hook, and he felt it and started. He hunched over, then just started. Then he actually was running, and for good reason because he was hurt. I was surprised though that Gonzalez you could tell he smelled the blood, but he didn't capitalize on it. He didn't go to the body as much as he should have because that's where Cuadras was vulnerable. Every time he went to the body,
No, we're telling him to go there.
What?
His corner were telling him to go to the body more.
Yeah, I think he should. I think he should have listened to them. I think the body was open and the body was tender. I would just as soon see a rematch. Maybe get Inoue another fight now.
No, Inoue now. I want Inoue next week. It's going to happen because, I mean, we were thinking about it was going to happen this year. It's not going to happen this year now, but fuck me, it's going to happen next year. I didn't want to wait another 2 years for that fight to happen.
I want a common opponent though. I want to see them see how they sort of stack up against each other, build it up a little bit more.
He's running the risk here, because as I say, Inoue's got that fragile right hand, and you just never know when Gonzalez is going to get old overnight. So, I didn't want to see a Bob Arm situation. Let it marinate and all that fucking stuff. Yeah. Get the fight now. I want it made now, and that as a fucking boxing fan.
Yeah. And HBO shot to shit. I think HBO shot to shit, man. They need to get it together.
Well, speaking of that, I think sell in Japan, the problem obviously be taking Gonzalez will be taking promotions and that, so it's easily made.
I mean, he got good money last night for that fight, $400,000 for a midget.
Fucking great.
I mean, I just want them Mayweather cost to hit him fucking sooner or later.
But it's 47 in a row now.
No, I think
46, I think.
46.
46 in a row.
He's fucking creeping up there. He's creeping up.
Aye, and against him, he's fought the more prime opponents as well.
Oh, of course he has, man. His resume's fucking. Floyd's name, the names on Floyd's resume is fucking great and all, but you need to kind of chip away at that to see. Aye, so. But that's what it is.
Plus, Floyd lost that block. It's not really
shut the fuck up.
Dave Lobeck?
I've said all I need to say.
Right, Dave Lee, just before we bring you in,
can I just say, Steve? Can I just say the odds just opened up here, Adam? Gonzalez 8-15, Inoue 8-5.
The odds last night were a disgrace, were they not? 1-8 on, like Gonzalez was. I know. Look, because somebody was trying to put a bet on, and I went on to my app to check the price, and it was 1-8 on. I don't know what the stoppage was, but 1-8 on is fucking ridiculous considering Cuadras was undefeated champion as well. Is he lineal champ as well? Was he the lineal champ?
No, he's no lineal champ. No, but he's fought a couple of good solid guys up at 115, so he's definitely top two, probably even the number one in the division. If you put Inoue up there, the top two as well. So that's Gonzalez. He probably be classed as number two.
Yeah, that was for the British bookies as well. I mean, quite often they've not got a clue about boxing and they put up fucking mad odds. But 1-8, fucking shocking. Even Brook was what? Brook came into I think Brook went down to 41 or something like that. That just fucking shows you. Rip your flag, boys.
Brook was 4-1. Well, Brook, according to the British bookies, Brook had more chance of winning than Cuadras, which don't make sense to me. But there was the best story from last week, and it was Richard Comey in that Easter Junior fight. Comey opened at 8-11 favourite on the 29th of August, and he started on fight night at 4-1. So he drifted from 8-11 to 4-1. That's how wrong they got it.
I'm going to watch that fight then.
Wrong, guys. They've got it wrong according to Adam Smith. I know one person who's not going to get it wrong. It's Dave Lee. Dave, final thoughts from you on Gonzalez, Cuadras, or Kamagai, or the Ryan Martin fight, whatever you want off that card before we go on to the previews, because there's a lot happening next week.
No, unfortunately, I didn't get to see it, Steve. Box Nation showed it over here, and I had it recorded last night, but woke up this morning and my recording failed. It was like a demon.
That's what you get for paid for all your fucking fights all the time, you fanny.
He pays for the stuff and doesn't get it.
That's fucking karma. That's Frank Von shafting you.
I'm putting money back into the sport. You should be thanking me.
Right, guys.
Brian, you put money in Eddie Hearn's pocket last night. How do you feel?
Nah, but I took not.
Like a casual.
Brian, you put Matchroom ahead of Celtic. How does that make you feel, man?
You know,
Utter casual.
You know, like you've worded it that way that I couldn't.
There's no comeback.
I mean,
You worded it the way it sounds.
If I walked down the stairs, somebody was just punching one of my pups right in the face, that wouldn't have hurt as much as what you've just said there.
The truth hurts, Brian. The truth hurts.
You know what, man? Like my return flights for like Glasgow to London cost me. It was like £50 or something. My taxi for fucking my hotel at the airport cost me just as much. Fucking disgrace, man. Fucking London, man. Cunts. Absolute fucking cunts.
Blame Sadiq Khan.
Oh, the place is really too big. I can't deal with it. I felt as if I was like you know how the Beverly Hillbillies, like when they fucking move out of their shanty town and they get into the big city. Like, oh fuck me, man! It's just too busy. There's too many people. It's just too chaotic.
That's what I was like in New York. I can sympathise with you, Brian. I can sympathise with you. Right, everyone's going to start shouting at me, so we're going to move on. I'm bringing it out, guys. It's coming back again. We're going to wrap through the final Twitter questions, and I'm going to have to bring out the clock to try and get us to the end here. Okay, right. Kurt, you still there?
Yep.
Bit of a random one for you from Jamie Innes. Andy Lee versus Curtis Stevens or David Lemieux. Any thoughts?
Not really, no.
Okay. Right, on to the next one.
Well, you didn't have to use the clock for that one.
No. Dave, seeing as you're speaking, continue to speak, please. Steve Antrobus, please break down a Canelo and Golovkin fight.
Well, we've done this before, and I don't think anything's changed from last night, from what I saw last night. I think that Golovkin still breaks him down with the jab. Just Canelo does not have the kind of movement Brook has. He's going to be in front of him, and his head movement's okay, I guess. We've seen it look better in some fights than others, but yeah, Golovkin's gonna destroy him head and body. It's gonna be a sickening beatdown, and I can't wait to watch it.
Adam Smith, this is a bit of a long question from Darren Carr. He sent it me in multiple tweets, so please bear with me. Did you, Adam Smith, and the panel think that Triple G wasn't taking the fight with Keller seriously due to other big fights falling out of bed? Was he a bit disillusioned with it all? Are people now saying he isn't that good when really he consciously negated his boxing skills he used against, say, Lemieux to deliver on his promise of a crazy fight due to having no respect for Brook?
Big drama show.
Well, Alex touched on this earlier. I think he probably did expect to get the job done early, and frankly, he nearly got it done in the first round. There's all sorts going on. You know, people won't fight him, and this, that, and the other, and Eubank. I mean, would he have even been motivated for a Eubank fight? Like, Eubank's probably a lesser known name than Brook across the pond, just because he's at the right weight. Is far less proven than Brook is. I don't know. There's a lot going on. But what you have got to say, rather than taking the avenue that the likes of Andre Ward have previously taken and sitting on the sideline doing shit all, at least he is fighting. And we've said before with Golovkin that we will give him a certain amount of leeway. I think that leeway is running out somewhat, but we'll give him a certain amount of leeway for not fighting the big names for whatever reason. The opposite end of that is pretty active, and that's why we'll give him a bit of leeway. I do think it's running out.
Bit of leeway, says Adam Smith. Right, Dave Lee, question from Chris Adams. Saturday just gone, Dave Allen, the heavyweight, not the dead comedian, pulled out of a fight and has decided to step away from boxing, saying depression was the main reason. Reading between the lines from his Facebook and Twitter, I don't think he was mentally prepared for the negative backlash he received after the White fight. Do the lads think this is going to become more common, and is there anything they think should be done, i.e. media and social media training? That's quite an interesting question.
with regards to depression and stuff.
Yeah, I think he's saying that maybe I know the likes of Matchroom and that they media train their fighters to mainly make sure they're not saying things they shouldn't be saying. But in Dave Allen's case, I think Dave Allen received a lot of stick after the White fight because it was basically shit and he didn't perform the way he said he was going to perform. And I think that, Mr. Adams here thinks that he maybe wasn't expecting the negative backlash and should some kind of social media training. Maybe the British Board of Boxing Control, is that who he's suggesting should lecture them on? It's a difficult one, but Nanny State.
Possibly, but it's a two-way street, isn't it? I mean, he got the fight with Dillian White on the back of his social media banter, for lack of a better word, and I mean, that's what got him the fight. And as we saw in that absolute dross of a fight, he was completely underqualified, and White basically snooze fest his way through a lopsided points decision victory. So he got the fight on the back of his social media crack. But I don't know. I mean, we complain about the likes of your Anthony Joshua's and the likes, being too media trained. I mean, it's kind of a breath of fresh air that we see fighters on Twitter who are normal. They can have the crack and stuff. So I don't know. I don't really want kind of a nanny state, where the British Boxing Board of Control and Matchroom are telling their fighters what they can and can't tweet. I mean, that's the great thing about Twitter is that so many boxers are accessible, and you can talk to them like a normal bloke on the street. I don't think we can take that away, or we should take that away.
In terms of this as well, it's impossible to say that his comments have caused a backlash, which have caused him to get depression. I mean, listen, depression is something that we know, especially in men, they suffer in silence for years and years and years, and end up doing taking their own life or whatever. So for him to come out and say he's got that should be applauded, and he should be helped in treatment. But it's hard, it's impossible to say we shouldn't be saying this because backlash. It's probably a guy who's been suffering for a long time in silence because of this, and I don't think it's got anything to do with a backlash. And it's just impossible to say. So I mean, people are going to say what they want. You're going to get people who are like Anthony Joshua, and you're going to get people like Tyson Fury, and that's just the way it is, I'm afraid.
Have you ever? Are you in favour of censorship on Twitter, Brian?
No, definitely not. No, just post anyone. Look, the likes of Dave Allen, you don't start suffering depression just because like people are sending you tweets. I know firsthand the way people run about me. It's a really serious issue. I know people kind of don't take that, and this is probably the only kind of time I'm ever going to be serious on a podcast. But so it's not one of these things that just kind of comes on someday just right away if you get tweets and all that. You maybe if you're constantly getting bombarded with abuse and all that, you feel a bit shitty and all that. But that doesn't automatically just send you into depression. That's not the way it is. It just gradually wears you down. So this has been an ongoing thing. And he's maybe been suffering from depression, mental, or other things for the time being. And basically, boxing is he's probably his route out of that, where he's training, and that kind of takes his mind off it. And as soon as the fight's over, he's lost the fight, and that's just maybe the trigger that's just kind of put it right over the edge. But this is not an illness that just kind of springs upon somebody. There's been ongoing factors behind the scenes.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Andy, this is quite an interesting question from David Lincoln. How clear of a favourite would Kell Brook be if Triple G had dropped down to 147 instead? And would Triple G be a clear favourite even at 154?
I think easily, mate. I think you've got to be realistic here. If Golovkin dropped down that amount of weight, I think you can consider that Brook was definitely my chance. Got to be.
He couldn't drop down to welterweight though, could he?
No, his face was drawn. His face was drawn at the weigh-in. That's the worst I've ever seen him at a weigh-in.
See, I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's left it late to I don't know if he's been sitting on the weight for too long, or if he's just got a 24-hour bug or whatever it is. I know there's some neurovirus kicking around about the UK now, but who knows, man? I mean, he didn't. I looked at the pictures of his last 4 weigh-ins, including the one on Friday. He's definitely wasn't as defined as what he has been in the past, and it says he's usually kind of smiling and joking or whatever at weigh-ins.
He was £5. He was only £5 over at the 30-day check weigh-in.
He was 162 7 days.
Exactly, he was £2 off it a week before. So maybe he sat in the weight for too long, you never know.
Yeah, well, you know, is that to endure? Obviously, the media, his media personality has been.
He arrived in the UK plenty of time, so it's no been jet lag or water retention or anything like that.
But he's had to probably put up with more media or been requested more media for this fight than he has before. It's been increasing for himself, you know, from the days of Monaco to the days of now in the last 2 or 3 years. And he's probably fed up, like we are, with the Sky and bullshit.
Fair point. Because people did mention about Kovalev in Russia recently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I suppose it would take its toll on certain fighters, you know, depending on their personalities and stuff. Dave Lobach, Matt, the boxing addict, says, would a Warren-promoted Triple G versus Billy Joe Saunders fight sell out in the UK, or would it struggle like Klitschko Fury 2 or Billy Joe Saunders Andy Lee?
Well, it's a tough one because Triple G is going to bring the fans. I think bring even the casuals. I think he would probably bring more than Billy Joe would. I don't know how big Billy Joe is over there. But Warren just sucks at doing that, unfortunately. He used to be good, didn't he? He seems to have lost it. Sort of like Don King. He's shot. He couldn't evolve with the changing technology and the way fights are marketed these days.
Yeah, but at least Don King can say he's 90 fucking years old. I mean, Frank Warren should still be able to do something about him. He's a dinosaur. I said it before. Billy Joe Saunders Golovkin would not be a big fight over here because Frank Warren's involved and he's absolutely awful. Let's cut the bullshit. That's just the way it is. You got Vladimir Klitschko coming over supposedly next month. No one cares. So why would anyone care about Billy Joe? It's, you know, he put out a video today calling that Golovkin from his fucking caravan. I mean, it's just not. He's got no recognition. He's got no value. People seeing him probably don't even know who he is. He's got a shitty WBO bout no one cares about. It's just the way it is. I mean, Sky can hype Golovkin on Sky Sports News. It's massive. They can hype the adverts at halftime on the football. What can Frank Warren do? You know, he's gone to that channel and they've done well, you know, considering, but there's only so much they can do, and he just hasn't got the same exposure.
I don't think that fight's possible in the UK. Unless somehow Hearn takes Billy Joe Saunders, unless that Random Steel guy is prepared to take a massive loss and pay both of them fucking massive money. The only way that fight works is if that's pay-per-view, because Saunders has priced himself out of the fight already, and Golovkin's not going to come out here for fucking short pay. He'll maybe come over for less than the Brook fight, but he's not going to come over here for nothing. And on Box Nation, it's not going to be able to harm. So unless fucking Saunders is somehow trying to get out his contract, then maybe so.
Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Right, guys, final question. Kurt, Andy Lee versus Curtis Stevens or David Lemieux. Any thoughts, no?
I'll tell you what, the thought of Curtis Stevens against Lemieux, that's a fun fight, let's be fair. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Andy Lee. Sorry to piss off my Irish mate, Steve Wellings here, but no, I don't really care about him, to be fair.
I like Andy. I met him do the Frampton quick weigh-in, but see, to be honest, I think I'm not going to say it's time for him to retire, but I think he's well past his prime now. I think. I say to you as well, Steve. See when he came back with Adam Booth at 154 for 2 fights, now he looked really, really awful then.
He looked like a skeleton in that Danish fight, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't look good at all in that fight.
Always has the puncher's chance though with that power.
This is it. The right hook, the Czech right hook, is a fucking beautiful punch.
I would have been happy with fucking Andy Lee Golovkin at one
exactly. Point. That was actually going to happen. Remember when Golovkin
died, didn't he, or something? Yeah.
It's a shame that, because I know Andy Lee would have fucking fought him definitely.
Oh, he would.
But it was signed. It was a done deal, and then Golovkin's father passed away, and I think there's like a month of mourning over there, isn't there? In
Kazakhstan, his religion,
yeah.
His religion basically, because he's the heir of the throne, so he's the oldest sibling, so he's basically going to take charge of all the. From what I read it anyway, he's going to take charge of all the affairs and that, and basically as by his religion, he's going to take a 30 days of mourning without question, without exception, basically.
You wrapping this up, Di?
Well, we're going to do Smith Alvarez and then Usyk, Głowacki and anything else. Yeah.
It's just is MD touched on Spencer Fairhorn?
He ducked us last week. He was meant to come on the pod and he fucking shagged it.
The guy's out of control.
But value of the week is coming up, so I'm sure we'll dedicate that whole segment to Spencer Fearon.
Of the week from now on.
I just want to say, see if Spencer Fearon was American, there would be no doubt about it. He would be getting accused of being a racist, right? Because like America, like see if you listen to American podcasts, like I don't know anymore, but well, I do. I listen to Boxing Rant, right? But see if you used to listen to Boxing Voice and all that, there is a serious fucking racism issue in boxing over there, and Spencer Fearon is nothing but a fucking racist. It is fucking disgrace. The fact that he's got a gig at Sky as well, he tries to word what he says well where he can get away with it, but you can fucking see it. You can see it in him. The guy's an absolute prick. So, fuck. Like, I mean, I'm a Ward fan, right? But I'm now fucking praying for Kovalev to ice this fucker. Really, I'm just to see the end of all this, just the fucking end of it all. Like, and I think Spencer Fearon will fucking kill himself if what. Like you see, but he's not. I mean, I trolled last night that saying that. Like Brook gave fucking Golovkin like enough movement. I feel as if like Floyd would absolutely school Golovkin. Right? I mean, I was doing it as an actual joke. Then I see that fucking Mora on the day actually tweeting stuff like that, being serious, and he's saying that Ward would school Golovkin. Like, I mean, see when people say that Ward would school Golovkin, they're saying that there as if they're talking down Golovkin. Ward's an all-time great. Like getting schooled off with Ward is like getting schooled off with like Floyd. That fucking happens to play. Most people, but it's not some sort of like you're putting the guy down here. I don't get that why that you're trying to like, fucking slag Golovkin be getting schooled off with Ward, but Spencer Fearon fucking infuriating, man. I would love to fuck. You know what, man? See you every day in boxing, man. I would love to fucking get Crawler's slab and put it over his head.
Is that your way of saying you're nominating him for Value of the Week? Yeah.
So, Steve, you've got the task of getting Spencer on next week. Good luck, mate.
Oh, he listens to this show, doesn't he? Spencer X Longs.
The thoughts of Brian King are not necessarily conducive with the thoughts of the rest of the panel.
This is the
Brian King slab. He's not nothing to do with us.
This is old Brian King, not the new one.
Right, yeah. While we're talking about Value of the Week, I've made a bit of a muck of it. I haven't. I thought I'd photoshopped most of them onto my phone, screenshotted. Sorry. But I don't seem to have done so. If anybody has any Value of the Week, so I'm going to throw in a few. Spencer Fearon, obviously. We know about his Golovkin plodder comments. Eddie's been talking shit all week. Johnny Nelson's been nominated. Eubank Jr. for his tell comment. There's been some crackers on social media. One guy said, someone at the bar, this is from Daryl Jelly, someone at the bar said, Brook looked really good versus Ricky Hatton. Someone else asked why Triple G was called Triple G. And then someone else, first nomination for the person who asked what time AJ was on at the pay-per-view. So there's quite a few different nominations there. If anyone wants to throw any Value of the Week nominations...
I wonder if that guy cancelled his pay-per-view just when he realised AJ wasn't coming on and it was too late.
What? What's that? Did somebody book a pay-per-view thinking it was Femi?
Yeah.
Fuck,
who was that? I dropped off here. What was that?
Some random guy on Twitter was asking when AJ was coming on, what time his ring walk or something was on the pay-per-view.
Oh, fuck.
That's amazing. That's like...
See, to be honest, I can see why you like Brian, how he maybe goes off fucking Twitter for like 3 or 4 days before like a big fight, or if it's been like hyped the matchroom and stuff. See, be like fucking Wednesday this week, I was actually saying to myself, I should just quit Twitter for the next couple of days because people were tweeting me and I was seeing tweets getting sent in for Belly of the Week nominations, and I couldn't help myself with fucking responding. And I noticed myself, I was trying to get myself fucking down about it because these cunts are not fucking going, right? I swear to God, I got the Twitter up and said to the wife, look at that tweet there. I showed it to the wife and she's like that. She's looked at me as if I've just shat the carpet. She said, speaking of worked up about it, she said, they're just doing my fucking brain in. She says, calm the fuck down, just switch it off. Just for some reason, I couldn't help it for some reason. Those are absolute fucking helmets.
I was sitting like amongst like loads of fucking proper cockneys, like proper fucking you fucking cunt, and they had all their dolly birds, right? Like, don't get me wrong, if I had like a bird, if I had a bird in general, it'd be fucking magic. But if I had like birds that look like this, I'd probably fucking go to the box and win them and all. But fuck me, they're dumb as shit. They're like they're talking to their girlfriends, find well known that the girlfriends don't know shit about boxing, and the birds are sitting there listening as if like, oh, you're Bear Sugar, you really know this and that, and I'm just sitting with shaking my head. And then this fucking lassie, she started getting callous as if like she knew what she was talking about because she's been sitting listening. That's me, ginger wanker all night, and she turned around and says, I see what you're saying and all that. Brook's just fucking lulling GGG into a false sense of security, and I just turned around and stared at her. What? What are you watching?
I watched it with my missus last night, and she genuinely likes Triple G fights. She was well up for it. Matching T-shirts and everything.
Yeah, I've seen that, mate. Well in there. Hope you got your hole afterwards.
Before and after.
Did you poke it off?
Oh, legend.
Right, I'm moving on to the fight previews because, to be honest with you, the value of the week is quite a lot of work, and I just haven't got the stomach for it tonight. It's after
give us some Spencer Fearon quotes at least.
Johnny Nelson's got to win it hands down. Surely, fuck.
I haven't got them, Dave.
I've actually got 3 as well.
He said that Triple G was a plodder. I've got that one saved, but I haven't got the rest of them saved. So if you know them, you say them.
He said today, Steve, that the Golovkin fanboys have gone quiet as they realise now the hype isn't real.
Didn't he say Alan Minter would beat Golovkin? Harold Graham would beat Golovkin.
I think he compared Sven Otka to Golovkin as well at one point, did he? And he called him 7 Otka.
Oh, he hates white guys, I guess.
He also said that Brook made Golovkin look mortal, so I asked him who has looked immortal, and he just blanked me. He called some. He said, I'm trying to find it. It was just fucking. It was basically like he's basically fucking stole like a Tommy Allen tweet. Oh, I fucking can't find it. He's basically fucking told some cunt, you're a casual. Don't fucking talk to me. That is. Oh man, I'm trying to find it. Otherwise, he's
at the Santander Arena in Reading. It was a bit incongruous to see Jorge Sebastian Highland there. You remember him for knocking out.
He beat Macklin in Dublin.
Yeah.
Right,
I don't know what this guy's doing here, but he fought a fat midget who was jiggling all over the place. Stormed out with like a big 30-second flurry, and then was immediately gassed. So he like took him out in the second round, I think. But the Belly of the Week nomination goes to the MC of the event, who called him Jorge Sebastian Helland. It's not as bad as Darren Baker, but
yeah.
Buffer was on quite good form last night.
He really rehearsed it, didn't he, to make sure he didn't fluff it.
I saw a post for an interview with David Hayes, but I think he was doing commentary for 5 Alive last night.
Yes.
And at one point he compared Golovkin fighting Brook to Usain Bolt and Mo Farah having a 100-meter sprint. And I'm still trying to work out that analogy.
Yeah.
Buffer annoyed me last night because he prolonged everything. He was like Special K, the special one, Kel Special K Brook, and then he was Gennady Gennadievich Golovkin, a.k.a. Triple G. Like, it was just a bit long for me.
Well, you know why he was doing it, Adam? He was getting paid an absolute fortune for doing one fight. He didn't want everyone to realise that he was ripping them off.
Eddie loves it.
I mean, I had 3. I mean, one of them I've already mentioned was Billy Joe Saunders, giving his threatening call out from his caravan. I think Sky's analysts the whole team having more analysts and experts than you see at a fucking Frank Warren show. The attendance, it was just, they were everywhere. It was like fucking.
You didn't know where they were going to turn up next.
It was like Mr. Smith from The Matrix, fucking suits galore. They were all over the show. And the other one is Carl Froch, when asked about his nose job, and he said, "I did it so I could breathe." I mean, the guy's just an absolute fucking bullshitter.
The actually looks good, by the way. That does look good. Can't even slag him for it. Well, you can't really, but...
Any other nominations?
Yeah, Johnny Nelson was doing a number of interviews throughout the weekend. He was having these crazy similes that didn't make any sense. And he was saying in an interview with SecondsOut.com, he said something like to the effect, when you're nervous, you perform like a deer in the woods. I can't really make head or tail of that.
What? A bear in the woods perform.
No, a deer in the woods.
Oh, but they perform well.
Oh,
Do deers perform well in the woods?
Just,
Okay.
you know who's actually tweeting fucking Spencer Fairn right now?
You?
Ray Pop.
Oh.
And obviously I'm blocked for fucking Pop, but all I see is none McCallum, Tony all beat him, so that's like 3 black fighters, so I'm just assuming that he's talking about Golovkin here. So that's just everybody, everybody beats Golovkin, but hi Spencer.
Right, we're going through the list now. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
Did somebody not say last night that this reminded me of Hagler Hearns?
Yeah, that was Hungry Wolf. He put. Oh no, hang on.
That
Sorry,
was Adam
Hungry
Smith,
Wolf
yeah.
put up a.
No, it was Adam
Hungry-
Smith.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking of. He put up a montage and he said he put the Fabulous Four.
Oh, that was horrible.
He put the Fabulous Fifth and he put Brook on his own. We'll add him then. What's going on, Andy? Is that you?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. What's wrong? Fucking
see you.
internet connection's fucking up.
Right, any more nominations?
Eddie Hearn
Yeah, I've got him.
for being a cunt.
Barry Hearn as well. Can he say something like, if the eye injury hadn't happened, what we would have saw in the later rounds, Cal come on or something stupid like that?
There was plenty of people saying that like if he didn't break his face, he would have went on to win, and I'm like, well, he did break his face, so. But I did just nominate Chris Eubank Jr. just for pure trolling, and the fact that he's slagging for somebody throwing in a towel when he wasn't even fucking fighting. But I just like that fact in that Barry Hearn actually replying to it and saying that was a terrible thing to say when he didn't say one fucking word when Brook done the exact same thing he can. So that's what it is.
Okay, guys, we've got Spencer, we've got Eddie Hearn, we've got Johnny Nelson, we've got Chris Eubank Jr., pay-per-view guy, Billy Joe Saunders, Sky analysts, Carl Froch, Kid Galahad, I'm throwing him in as well, Hungry Wolf on Twitter. There was a guy, Rich Savage, I think, who was arguing the case for Brook all week. We'll stick him down as well. And Barry Hearn. Right, Dave Lee, who are you going for?
I'll go with Geraldine Lawler. You mentioned her earlier on. You know, said that in another 12 months, Conor Benn's going to take Golovkin out.
Forgot about Geraldine. I'm also going to go for Geraldine, actually, so that's 2 for her. Smido?
Eddie Hearn.
1 for
Multiple
Bruce.
offences, general bullshit.
Yeah. Andy?
Yeah, that Geraldine chick.
Dave? Lowback?
Yeah, I'll go for the lady as well.
Brian?
I want to vote for that woman, but I can't because like Eddie Hearn's on this list, and I'm voting for him.
He was talking about you this week on that video.
Fuck it, he absolutely butchered me, didn't he? That was a fucking savage fucking doing he gave me.
He
It's
says,
bit-
you see this guy, Brian King. I'm not saying I felt sorry for him, but fucking hell.
Aye, it's like as if it was like fucking being fat was a well, I can't even get that word out. As if like I was fucking dying. Debilitating fucking illness, wasn't it? As if like, hold on. I was like, you know what? And what I tweeted him back was, I was like, the fact that you're saying that, because he started off saying that we fucking noise him up, saying we're inside your head. And then he's like, they think that they're inside my head. I was like, well, we must clearly be if all you're doing is fucking talking about us all the time. I was like, this is 2 years down the line and you're still talking about that time that you met me. I was like, and you've blocked me that, but I just tweeted him back, just saying, I was like, the fact that you're fucking still talking about me means you're thinking about me, which is fucking really cute. But what they don't know is, like, and Hearn's like admitted it in that interview, he can't stand me, he fucking hates me, right? Which is a good thing because he never ever says that. I'm actually fucking chuffed to bits though that he's admitted that he hates me. That IFL video was the push that I needed to lose the weight. So basically Eddie Hearn's made me lose 7 stone. So again, I'm beating Eddie Hearn because he's made me do this. So fuck you, Eddie Hearn. Yeah, gotta get my whole eye beef because of you.
I feel strongly reminded of Alex Jones after Hillary Clinton mentioned him.
Brian's going to be on InfoWars tomorrow. Right, Kurt. Andy Lee versus Curtis Stitt. Oh, no, wrong question. Who are you voting for? Sorry for Value of the Week.
I'm going to go for the Sky panelists for quantity and just no fucking quality.
Proper hate that.
Right, guys, the votes have been cast. We've got 4 votes to Geraldine Lawler, so I'm going to go over to the 42.ie forum and hopefully tell Geraldine that she's won. So congratulations, Geraldine. It was an excellent affair.
Woo!
Right, we're hitting the 2 hours 10 mark, guys. We're doing okay. We're going to get there. We're just going into the championship rounds now. We've still got plenty of stamina, hopefully. Andy's all pumped up and ready to go for this fight. It's in the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Saul Canelo Alvarez against Liam Smith, the WBO World Super Welterweight, they call it now, title. Gabe Rosado, on the undercard against Willie Monroe Jr. for a bullshit belt. Joseph Diaz, Andrew Cancio, Diego De La Hoya, Eddie Gomez, blah, blah, blah. Who wants to jump in first on this one? Alvarez versus Smith. El Bifio, as the hashtag is going on around Twitter. Has he got any...
I like that.
As he steps up into world class for the first time in his career? Yes, I do believe so.
Ooh.
I'll be honest, Joe. I like Liam Smith. I think he's a good fighter, but I don't know. I think it is a massive step up in class, isn't it, from what he's been facing? I mean, what is Smith's best win? It's probably against John Thompson, isn't it?
I mean,
And Thompson
first 4 rounds of that, did he?
No, I was just going to say, for the first 3 or 4 rounds, I mean, in fairness, Smith is a slow starter, but he did seem to be getting outboxed. But, Smith is that kind of like grinder fighter, isn't he? He starts slow and then comes on late. So, but, Thompson, he's a competent boxer, but he's nowhere near elite level or, world class. And of course, Smith's going from the likes of Jimmy Kelly, Radisevich. I mean, you're talking different levels, aren't you? Going up against Canelo, it's a huge leap, and it's hard to see past the Canelo victory. Having said that, I do expect Smith to put up a credible performance. I don't think it's going to be like one of these Brits going abroad and getting blown out. For the simple reason as well is, Smith does have a good defense. He's got a tight guard, and Canelo is, a very patient boxer. Sometimes he's over patient, so I don't see an early blowout. I think Smith can have his moments in the fight, but it's very hard to see him being seriously in the fight and troubling Canelo, or even being on the verge of an upset. I don't ever see him being ever seriously in the fight. I can see Canelo maybe late stoppage, possibly points, but very hard to see past the Canelo victory based on the evidence of what we have.
This is just one of the problems in boxing when you've got a guy who holds a world title who's never even proven he's at that level, because he's got a bout against a guy who no one even knows or even rates that highly. It's not his fault, of course. He's been given the chance, so he's right, he took it. But now he's just stepping up so many levels. He's fighting Canelo in Texas as well, or he's just how can he win the fight? I mean, I just think he will put up a decent effort. He's a tough, durable guy, he looks like, but there's no evidence to say how he can win this fight. I think, no disrespect to him, if Canelo maybe overlooks him, it will give him a bigger chance, but you just can't make a case for winning, in my opinion. I think Canelo is better than, I've given him a lot of stick over the years, but I think he's a lot better than I thought, and a lot of people did, and I think he is improving, and I think Smith's going to be in front of him. And I think if you look at guys who stand in front of Canelo, I mean, they take some punishment, and how tough and durable is Liam Smith. He's a big guy at the weight as well, so it'll help, but I just think he's going to be outgunned in this fight. I think Canelo has got quicker hands, he's a more powerful guy, and he's a more experienced guy, and I think it's probably going to be a wide points win for Canelo. I don't think Smith will be stopped. I think he'll go out on points, and it'll be a routine win. But fair play to Smith. He's taken this this massive jump in class, and it's funny to me how Canelo now wants the WBO bout, and how it's important to him. But yeah, I mean, they're already talking about Canelo returning on December 10th, so that's how much they really think of this fight. So they're already looking past it. And I think for Smith, you've got to hope that's they're doing that as much as possible, and it gives him a chance. But, I think he'll give his all, and that's, I think that's all you can ask from him, because how good is he? We don't even know.
I think Dave alluded to a good point. I was going to say it myself. There's a chance that the CompuBox stats could be broken the wrong way with this one, that there's not going to be a lot of punches thrown, particularly in the first half of the fight anyway. Dave Loback, it could be a pretty sparse, economical affair.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be slow and mildly competitive for the first half of the fight, maybe the first 8 rounds even. Canelo usually takes a little while to adjust and figure things out. I don't know. It is a question mark for Liam Smith because, like as was said, we don't know that how good he is. Can he adjust in a fight? Will he go for it if he's down, or if he somehow hurts Canelo? You know, who knows? I'm thinking though he won't. I'm thinking he's probably going to shell up. Is he with Gallagher?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I think actually I did say this before. If he does this smart, he can. I think he should try to get in Canelo's head, try to bait him in, try and rope-a-dope him, because Canelo's gas tank is suspect, and Canelo will be embarrassed if he isn't able to stop an opponent who's goading him. I think a very lightly touted opponent. So maybe if Liam Smith's smart, I think he'll try to rope-a-dope Canelo. I think that's his best shot to win, and then try to win it late. But I think it more likely he's just gonna do the Scott Quaid game plan from Frampton and just kind of plod along, the occasional shot that lands, but ultimately lose almost all the rounds.
I turned the year as a rare breed. I was a fully paid up member of Golovkin fan club, and I was verging on fanboy for Canelo. But after he's blatantly ducked Golovkin, I've grown to resent the fella, to be honest.
Why don't you resent Froch? Because he done the exact same thing.
Behave, Bri. Come on, lad. You've been on over an hour and a half now, and this is the first time you mentioned Froch. I thought we'd have got through the night without it.
He complimented his nose.
I'm going to be in Mexico next week, so I hope I can find to watch the fight. Surely it will be on somewhere.
Froch just went all fucking this way is Essex now, eh? Fucking tan, fucking fixed nose, there'll be teeth next.
Adam Smith's on the proper next week.
I know, it's embarrassing, but no, I just can't see how Liam Smith can win. That's quite an obvious observation, but Canelo, you know, is he becoming irrelevant? I don't know. Is he that scared of Golovkin that he's now determined to fight at a weight that he genuinely struggles to make? Because that's, you know, that could be.
He want to make weight. He want a bit money on it.
Will he make the weight?
Exactly. I don't think he will.
Well, given it's a world title fight, you would have to expect him to do so. But...
put it this way, Adam. Put it this way, right? How come there's 3 weeks ago both basically pulled out the VADA testing program, right?
He did, yeah.
And this guy's never made 154 since fucking Floyd, right? Yep. Is he going to make the weight? If he does make the weight, is there other fucking substances getting used for it? I would say so. It's in Texas, for fuck's sake. It's in Texas.
If you don't make the weight, Liam Smith's going to get paid more to get knocked out than he was a month ago. So, you know, fair play. But, I mean, this is one... Kurt's made the point, though. Liam Smith could actually be in a reasonably competitive fight against Canelo. He ain't going to win on the cards. Obviously, no one's going to win on the cards against Canelo. But, you know, we just don't know. It's not just 1 or 2 levels step up. We're talking like 5, 6 levels we're stepping up here for Liam Smith. And that's a poor indictment of the game that, you know, we've come accustomed to. But I'm just looking forward to a decent fight. Liam Smith's got a likeable style. Canelo's got a pretty likeable style as well. You know, could be decent, I hope.
What's likeable about Smith's style?
Forget Golovkin. When's this cunt ever going to fight a middleweight? He's a lineal middleweight.
He's a wee fucking minge, man. I hate the prick. I mean, Brian's going to hate me for saying this, and I know Brian's got his issues here with the Smiths and Gallagher and that, but I actually hope he fucking wins. Because I hate Canelo. I fucking hate him. Yeah, he's a fucking wee pussy. I mean, can you imagine like a Barrera or Morales fucking pulling this shit?
Disgusting.
Fuck that, man. Smith fucking ducked Liam Williams. Fucker just so he can get a payday. Every cunt's fucking ducking everybody these days.
I know, but as I say, I just hate Canelo, or Canelo as I fucking call him, more than a day, Liam Smith, eh? So.
Can anybody envisage a situation where Joe Gallagher's standing on the side of the ropes furiously waving a towel to try and protect Smith from a beating?
Nah, he'd be shouting left hook to the liver. That's what he'd be shouting.
I can't see like a Mexican fighting in Texas having like that happen. They would fucking probably just throw the towel back out and just tell him to carry on. I mean, I like Liam Smith. I was always a more a fan of him than any of his brothers, but I find him really fucking basic. I don't agree that he's got a good defence. He's got a high guard, but his defence is shite because people always seem to get around about it, and he's always getting touched up.
Shots, Brian, doesn't he? He takes a couple.
Yeah, and he's high. And what's Canelo great at? Going to the body. And what's fucking great for like going to the body? Somebody with a high guard, and that is like Liam Smith. I wouldn't even see Liam Smith. He's like the typical. He is so typical Joe Gallagher, and his last couple of fights he's basically done like he's started off really slowly, then picked up. He's just waiting for guys to tire. And Canelo's not got a great gas tank, but I tell you one thing, he's not one of these like fucking part timers like Thompson and that, where they're just going to blow out their arse after about 5-6 rounds. And I tell you, if he allows Canelo to tee off on him for about 5-6 rounds to see if he does get tired, he'll be out of there. I know, like. We don't even know if Liam Smith has got that great, like, good a chin where he's going to be able to take fucking Canelo's power, because like we've never really seen him. Who's his best win? Eddie the Głowacki.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, he's stepping up several levels. His best win is Thompson. I mean, at the level he's been operating at, I think Smith. There is lots to like about him. I think he's a good body puncher. He has a decent jab. I think he's got good punch variety as well. I mean, he switches from the head to body, very fluidly for a British fighter. It's unusual to see. But as you said, he's stepping up several levels, and it remains to be seen whether his chin, for one thing, can stand up to Canelo's power. And the experience factor as well. I mean, Canelo has got a lot of slights against him on the internet and stuff. A lot of people don't like him, but he's finding ways to win against. Very good opposition, and I think that's going to stand him in good stead in this fight. Smith, I think he could find himself out of his depth in this one. But,
I think this is. I'm going for like 7th round stoppage.
I think points could be a good bet because of the fact that Canelo, he seems to be overly patient at times, and he seems to kind of get into a comfort zone, doesn't he? He doesn't really go for stoppages. I mean, against Cotto, I thought he could have stopped Cotto, especially later on, but he didn't. He seemed content with a points victory. He didn't seem to want to.
I think.
Well, not even that. Maybe not even that. I just think he was content with the way the fight was going. He gets into kind of a comfort zone, and he doesn't like to let his hands go, and that could happen in this fight as well.
I think like where the fight's happening though might be a telling factor, because he's going to have so many like Mexicans. I know like the arenas are always full of Mexicans, but this is banging Texas, and there's going to be a fucking ton of them, and that might just kind of carry him where he's just going to fight a bit more aggressively. I don't see. I know you've got your rep your flag crew that will be saying like this. I fucking don't see any possible way that Liam Smith can win that. There isn't. I don't think there's anything that Liam Smith. It's the same as the last night. There's nothing that Smith can really do that he can do better than Canelo. And Canelo, he looks a lot more intelligent fighter now. I know it was only Can, but he is moving a bit better. He's got better defense, and the way he kind of shifts to the body, man. Like, it would be so fucking good if like one of Joe Gallagher's fighters actually get stopped with a body shot, wouldn't it? Just like a left fucking hook to the body. It'd be great.
Canelo 1 point is 3-1, and Canelo to win by knockout is 2-5.
Yeah, I think it depends on how Smith approaches the fight. If he just walks forward, trying to pressure Canelo with his high guard, I think he's going to get stopped. I think Brian is right with about like mid-round stoppage, because guys like Angulo and guys like Kirtland, they just try to pressure Canelo. They're just walking straight into his power, and obviously Liam Smith's not going to be, he's not a Lara or Mayweather. Obviously, he's not going to have that style. So he's definitely going to be in there, but it depends how aggressive he is. I think if he really goes for it, I think he's going to get stopped. But I just don't think he will. I think someone said he's not going to throw a lot of punches. He's going to shut up, maybe be jabbing a lot. And Carl might just be happy just to win on points easily. But I think it depends.
What do you think about the size difference? Think about a size difference in this fight.
Yeah, Canelo's going to be a light heavyweight.
I think the styles will mix well, because like Liam Smith's just a constant come forward fighter, and Canelo's more a counter puncher, so it's going to fucking blend well for like Canelo. It's a perfect fucking style for Canelo if he wants to do it. If he wants to look good, the guy's not going to be away from ladder where he's not going to be able to touch him. He's going to be right in front of him for him to do what he wants. And Liam Smith Liam Smith's not so much like a quig where he'll throw a lot of punches. I don't think Liam Smith's that type of fighter either.
But is Canelo that big a puncher? I mean, I know he's obviously the can fight, probably knockout of the year, but at the very top level, I mean, is he one of the sport's big punchers?
No, but he's got enough power. I find he's it's one of these guys where he's got a lot of knockouts, but if you look at his record, he's fucking knocked out a lot of shite. But when he steps up a level, he goes 12 rounds. But it'll be maybe the same as kind of Mayweather to a certain extent. He's got enough power to keep people off him, like the top class. And Liam Smith isn't top class. Like, he picked this fight for a fucking reason. He could have probably fought any of the champions. He picked Liam Smith. Log it. 7th round.
Log it. Right, lads, I'm going to have to wrap this up at 10:30, otherwise my missus is going to be knocking me out for no title at all. Final predictions, Dave Lee, how do you see this one going?
I'm tempted to go for Canelo on points, but as Kurt was saying, it kind of depends as well what Liam Smith brings to the table. If he finds himself down by 8-9 rounds, is he really going to go for it late on? And all the pressures on Canelo as well. He has to perform. Because no one expects anything from Smith.
Just one more question. Do any know where Liam Smith is? Because I automatically thought that Callum Smith and that wouldn't be on that card last night, and they would all be over in LA at Wildcard Gym, all fucking training. I thought Crawler would be over there and all for the Linares fight. I thought they'd all be over there, but they're back here. Joe Gallagher was back here. Do we know where he actually is? Is he already over there himself?
I was actually going to ask that question last night, actually, because as you say, he was meant before.
He was over there. Someone mentioned on the Sky he was over in Texas.
Yeah, because they were talking about him. Joe was flying out. Is it today, tomorrow? I mean, there's no way Liam Smith's known. He's got to be in the States just now because you didn't fly to fucking Texas with that type of atmosphere. I mean, like the fucking environment atmosphere. You didn't fly over a week to go to get acclimatized. Fuck, no chance.
Gonzalez, exactly.
Exactly, mate. Because it's still warm over down in that neck of the woods this time of year.
You going for the knockout, Andy? What's your prediction?
I don't know, mate. I really don't know. Yeah, I think so. I just think on the night he's going to be a bigger lad. I'm probably going to go for a late stoppage, maybe the 8th or 9th. Maybe even. Anybody see Joe Gallagher keep pushing him out there like he did with John Murray against Rios, where he get his absolute cunt kicked in, but kept sending him out and just destroy his career, make him go blind?
That's what I wanted last night.
But no, hopefully it doesn't come to that. But yeah, I think a stoppage, maybe a late. Body shots, you just get absolutely brutal. You just get brutalised and raped and absolute GBH material on the ropes.
I think we get the message. I'm going for 11th round stoppage. Smido, what about you? Dave Lowback?
Wide UD. I just think that he's going to be defensive enough.
Kurt?
Yeah, wide UD. I think Smith, once he's down, he'll go for the brave hero, the brave Brit who goes 12 rounds with Sal Canelo Alvarez.
If Smith and Gallagher have got any genuine ambitions of winning, I think they'll get knocked out, if that makes sense. If they've got ambitions of going the 12 rounds and trying to claim some sort of credit, then I think that's what they'll do. It all depends on Smith.
The better fight next week is Usyk versus
Głowacki. He just stole my point.
For the last 3 minutes, Quan.
You stole my point there, Dave, you cunt.
I'm just saying we spent a lot of time talking about this.
Exactly. I was just going to say, we're going to stay off the show as Steve was going. I was just going to say, I've got one thing to say. I've got 2 things to say. Sorry. Next Friday, Yamanaka Moreno rematch. Moreno's going to pull the business off, and next Saturday is all about Głowacki against Usyk in Poland, and there's still tickets available for it.
I didn't want to sell that one short, Andy, sorry, so please go ahead with Usyk Głowacki. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm really looking forward to this one. Hopefully there's a stream kicking around for this one, because we're going to find out if Usyk's all hype or not, because Głowacki, as we know, he proved against Huck, regardless if Huck's past his prime, but that guy's a legit contender, man. Title holder or no title holder, that guy could be,
What are the odds on Głowacki? Because I know Usyk's obviously a big fighter.
Adam?
Give me a sec.
Because I think he's worth. I reckon he's worth. His last 2 fights against guys like Steve Cunningham, Marco Huck. People will say Huck's past it now, but going into the fight, who gave him a chance? No one. The guy has shown, he's very, like a lot of the top cruiserweights, he's very tough, he's durable, he punches hard. I've seen Usyk, there's a huge amount of hype on him. We've heard Tony Bellew talk about him, how great he is. But, from the fights that I've seen, he's moves a hell of a lot for a cruiserweight. He's obviously very quick. Does he punch that hard? Is he going to get Głowacki's respect? And, 12 rounds is a long time, and we've seen it with someone like Lomachenko when he had to do 12 rounds and he just lost the fight. So Usyk, yeah, he's the favourite based on a long amateur career, but he hasn't faced anyone in the pro ranks yet.
It's 15-8 either way. 15-8 for Głowacki and 8-15 for Usyk.
What? He's live, isn't he, Głowacki? Like, he's a good fighter.
He is live, but I think the odds are... That's similar odds to fucking Inoue and Gonzalez.
Where's the fight taking place as well?
Poland.
Yeah, good answer.
It's a bit of a signal because I can't remember.
I was wanting to go to that.
I can't remember who I was speaking to on Twitter. It was like some guy that knows all that scene over there, and I asked when was the fight going to be, and they say it's the 10th or the 17th, and I just assumed that they wouldn't have it in the Mexican weekend because there'd be a big fight that weekend, and I obviously booked up to Ibiza, so I priced like going to Poland on the 10th. I was like, what I can do is I can go the Friday, the Saturday, and come back on the Sunday, then fly to Ibiza the next day, and I had it all arranged to fucking ready to get up, and they come up with fighting in the 17th. I was fucking gutted because I really wanted to do a weekend in Poland, going to a fight. Their fans are fucking off their tits, man. It'd have been right good. It'd be bouncing.
I think they only changed the date recently, didn't they? It was quite a late change of date.
No, it was forever like purse bids, and it just kind of dragged out and dragged out and dragged out.
Because I was going to go to that as well, but I'm buying a new house, and I was planning to go to the Breck House fight in Oslo, but that looks like it's going to fall through as well, so I'm fucked. So I just need to go to Taylor instead,
Lads, save me money and we'll go Japan next year. Inoue Gonzalez.
Well, Donny's wanting us to come to his wedding in fucking 2 years' time, so.
Gonna get a woman?
He's engaged, not me, aye.
Fuck, man. I can't believe.
Any final comments on Usyk boxing related?
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on him. I know he's got a lot of hype, but I agree with Kurt. I think this is going to really prove to see where he's at, because this is cruiserweight division is killer territory. There's some great fights to be made there, and just we're glad to see at least 3 of the fights happen this year. Bellew as well getting involved. So hopefully we get another good fight at the cruiserweights, and we'll definitely get some answers with Usyk this time.
And he's used to having things his own way, Usyk, but he's going to be facing this guy in his own backyard. The fans, obviously, they're crazy fans. He's going to be well up for it. And Głowacki has shown, he can punch. He's very tough, and he's going to be going for it. And 12 rounds is a long time with someone, constantly coming forward trying to knock you out in the cruiserweight division. If Usyk's as good as a lot of people say he is, then he wins the fight. But I think Głowacki's worth a bet because he's impressed me in his last 2 fights.
Dave Lee, final comments to you on the 193rd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast.
It's very hard to see where. It's very hard to pick a winner in the Usyk-Głowacki fight. I mean, as I said, the jury's still out on Usyk. How good is he really? Even with Głowacki, did he catch up